Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this glorious Friday, the 2nd of we're in July, aren't we? Time sure flies. We didn't have an intro today because Tom isn't here to get it started. Nothing wrong. He's just sleeping in a little bit because you saw we put a Zorro video up earlier, and that did not make itself, nor did it make itself in daytime. So Tom will maybe join us a little bit later on. But in the meantime, I am joined by three illustrious co-hosts, namely Polly from the Latino slant and Midnight's Edge Español fame. ¿Qué tal, amigo?
Well, bueno, hola, hola. Good morning, everybody. Todo bien aquí. ¿A usted, Andre?
Me alegro. And then, of course, we also have, also of Midnight's Edge Español fame, plus fame of every other YouTube channel that you watch, our good friend Mexican Iron Man. ¿Qué tal?
Bien. Todo está bien aquí en el estado de South Carolina, where I am now trilingual, Andre. I now speak Spanish, English, and I speak Southern here. So if any folk from the South need to feel like they're, have a friend online this morning, that's me.
All right, perfect. We shall keep that in mind. And then also representing Vegas, we have Matt Kadish of Salty Nerd Podcast fame, also the slayer of one James Mangold.
Hola, muy caliente.
It's awesome to have you all here. And Sander Hammerslag wonders, am I in the wrong podcast? No, you are in Midnight Edge. No worry about it. So, yeah. And we also have Silver Nova here joining us. We have Grand Admiral Adam here. Donny Canop is here. Dragon Master is here. And Anthony, YouTube fan, is here and says hello to every single one here. So hello to you. And we have D-Bud Martin that is also trying to speak Spanish here, or maybe he really does, so that's awesome. And Gran Wasu, he's showcasing something new. We now have Polly emojis. Emojis what? Is the word. So yes, we have Polly emojis for
I gotta see these.
What?
I have not approved. I don't even know about this. What is it?
Oh, there is a Polly emoji. Hold on. I'm gonna blow it up right now. Hold on, I'm blowing it up.
Oh, that's not all. Mike, you know what we also have?
What?
We have Mexican Iron Man emojis.
No, you do not.
Yeah, of course we do.
What? Where? Hold on.
Oh, I think I see them
now.
Wow.
Oh, good heavens.
I have arrived.
Oh, good heavens. I think I'm going to cry. I got to call my mom. My mom's going to die.
That's cool. Thank you, Midnight's Edge.
Thanks,
Muchísimas gracias.
Yeah, well, we also have to thank Culture Casino.
Oh, that's what you wanted my avatar for. He's so smooth. I thought he wanted it for like some show that we were going to be on. Oh, that Culture Casino. You are such a smoothie pants. Andre, you rock. Love you, brother.
We need
where's the fat bearded white guy emoji?
Oh, we'll get around to that.
I was going to say,
I feel discriminated against.
Hey, for diversity and inclusion, we need a Matt. I got an idea. Let's do a Matt Kadish one, except he's going to be holding a lightsaber or a sword slashing Hollywood.
No, he's slashing Mangold.
Slashing Mangold.
Slashing
Jones. Yeah, we're gonna need one for Matt. We're gonna need one for Tom Conkle. We're gonna need one for all our regulars. We need one for Toxic Femmes and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Thanks, boss. That's really cool.
But yeah, I wanted to show you guys that, and since people actually found out before I got around to saying anything, I figured this was a cool way for you guys to find out.
Way to bury the lead, Andre.
Yeah.
All right, just in honor of that, Andre, then okay, everybody in the virtual taco bar in the back, free breakfast virtual tacos for everybody, including extra sides of guacamole.
Oh, no, guacamole in the morning? No.
Guacamole rules. You can have that.
You can have guacamole anytime during the day.
Exactly.
Oh my God. See, that's the American side, Andre. The American side is like guacamole anytime of the like 24/7. Pero aquí en esta casita, no está bueno. Es guacamole en la tarde or for dinner, but in the morning, nunca.
You know, see,
Nunca.
I'm going to take Matt's
Ollie,
position.
Ollie,
Go ahead.
that's like me saying you can't put raisins in potato salad. It's just it's not a thing.
Why the hell would you want to do something like that?
Yeah, what the hell?
Because that's what white people do.
Katie, I did not say white. I did not say white. I want to make it very clear. I said that's our American side. That's our American side because we love to like once we grab something, we go overboard. You know that, Kadish. I just want to say I did not say white.
So yeah, it's Friday, everyone.
Oh,
and
God, that's hilarious.
Decido wonders, Tom still sleeping? Yes, Tom is still sleeping. And to be fair, he didn't like go to bed until like 7 o'clock in the morning because he was up all night doing the Zorro video, and when he wakes up, he gets to go straight into work on the Alien video
Tom
before Friday night.
I don't know if you guys know this. Tom is a workaholic. He just works nonstop. To the point of exhaustion, so he just needed some Tom time.
Yeah, that's most welcome. And also, says, "Hey everyone, I'm on my cell today." Oh, we're so glad you decided to join us anyway. And Rick Lucy say, "Hey, cool panel." And Film Lars says, "Let's rock." So indeed, let us rock. Before that,
roll.
Roll. Before that, though, we got a couple of super chats I'm going to run through right away before we get into the first main story, which is actually like a recap story because it's like the summer's vacation, is Friday, it's a slow news day. But we have a panel that we haven't had here earlier this week, so it'll be good to get your takes on the matters at hand. Before then, though, Gran Wasu 42 says for €5. Yeah, we got Mexican Iron Man and Polly emojis. Thanks. So yeah, indeed. That's pretty cool. I'm very, very happy about that. So special thanks to Cultured Casino for making that happen, and Matt, more will be forthcoming. So don't worry about it. And then we also have Dash Attack, who started us out today with $10, saying, "I want to believe Cameron's instincts on progressive Hollywood are correct. While it's possible other studios are heading for the center, Disney seems married to woke at too many levels." Do you think that Disney as a company is particularly woke?
It's not just Disney, it's every Hollywood studio.
Yeah, but some are a little bit more extreme than others, though.
Well, I think because Disney is like the big dog in town, a lot of attention is put on them, and they're mishandling so many high-profile franchises. Like, you could say Universal is mishandling the Fast and Furious franchise, but no one cares. So it's one of those things where it's pretty common practice in Hollywood to do this stuff. It's just that Disney's getting all the attention because they're the big dog, in my opinion. Cameron's usually right about stuff, so if he has a take on things, I tend to agree with him. But yeah, I mean, when I worked in town, that stuff was hugely common. So same old, in my opinion.
It reminds me, I have to make a comment on the emoji as well. But yeah, Polly, do you think that Disney are particularly woke compared to other studios?
They're not woke at all. What are you talking about?
Exactly. There you go. Polly has spoken, and Disney is not woke.
Well, let me just finish. They're not woke at all. They're wokosos.
Well, they actually have a division within Disney that's focused on diversity and inclusion. Like, there's an actual arm of the company whose only job is to make sure that wokeness is getting injected into every aspect of the company.
Yeah. I mean, those divisions have existed for decades. First, they were writers programs and hiring programs, which made sense But now it's something just completely different.
Well, I know that back when I was working in the business, they had this thing called the gay mafia that Michael Ovitz kind of made famous by talking about it. And it was basically just a group of very high-powered gay men who lived and worked in Hollywood, and they would kind of like push stuff like making women look more like little boys on fashion magazines and putting more gay characters into TV shows and stuff like that. So this type of thing has been going on for like a long time. But now it's starting to go more mainstream and kind of more out in the public eye, I think.
Mike, your thoughts on that?
Man, let's just put it this way: if Hollywood were a burrito, or Disney were a burrito in Hollywood, let's just say it would not have mild woke salsa. It would have super fire jalapeno, tiny ass little red pepper chili, uber woke peppers in that burrito, and it would be and it's inedible after a bite or two. That's my analogy for the morning.
Oh, that's a nice one. And actually, on the note of woke Disney, we're going to start off today by revisiting the Star Wars Boba Fett slave name controversy, or the ship name controversy, the ship that used to be known as Slave One. But before that, I just want to run through a couple of more of these super chats. We got super stickers from Darius Münchhausen and Mr. Tickletrunk, so thanks for that. Golgo13 said, "How about a super sniper emoji? Ha ha ha." If there's a joke there, I didn't get it, but yeah, well, there will be more emojis. Stephen Otten says, "Hail Andre, Paulie, Mike, Matt, Wrenches, and chat. If you have your own emoji, then you've made it. Get some rest, Tom." Indeed. And the Creative Time Traveler says, "There will be a time in the future whereby the indie filmmakers will become the next Hollywood." Yeah, kind of like George Lucas. You saw how that went. And on the note of George Lucas, Star Wars, Boba Fett and Slave One, his iconic ship. And this ship will be slightly less iconic since Disney apparently has sent out the mandate to third-party manufacturers, such as Lego and others, that Slave One is no longer to be called Slave One. Now it's just Boba Fett's spaceship. Do you think that this is the right decision and with the times, or is it just too much? Matt, let's begin with you.
Me personally, I don't really have a problem with it. I know that might be triggering some people in chat, but they never mentioned the name of the ship in any of the movies or the TV shows. And to me, like that's what determines canon. I can understand why people would be upset about it. But to me, like it's just par for the course for what Disney's been doing in running this franchise into the ground. Like, back when they got rid of the entire EU, you could say like that opened the door for them to change the name of pretty much everything that came out in the EU, and that includes toys and books and comic books and stuff like that. So, if it's not in movies or TV shows, then it's fair game to be changed at a certain point. And, that's just how they're going to operate, whether we like it or not, unfortunately.
Mike, how about you?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it's just disappointing. There's so many things to do in earnest in order to remove this racial tension and build true great diversity like we had it creatively for a while back. Maybe once MacLeod things started going to hell in a handbasket, because I know that he mentioned he used to live in Southern California, but good God, I mean, there's just so many other things that can be done. This is just such a know-nothing, empty, burger of nothingness that just, I mean, come on, seriously? I mean, this has got your attention. There's just 100 other things that would merit, bona fide attention to just quality. I mean, why focus on something like this that's like ages gone by? Change, make a change. It's like, how many things do you want to find that could possibly, if I were running a company, why would I look for things that might piss my fan base off? It might irritate them. Why not just take any amount of energy of any dollar that I'm spending on any of my staff people in order to, I don't know, guess what? Do something quality in Hollywood and release it, Disney. I don't know. Novel concept. Too big to be, they used to have the same too big to fail. Now I think Disney's like too big to not be stupid.
Yeah, it's a very virtuous decision. And so far, then, of the panel here, we have Mike, who is less than pleased, Matt, that doesn't care one way or the other. Polly, how do you feel about Slave One no longer being Slave One?
I think it's lame. Boba Fett's a bounty hunter. He's a bad dude. He named his ship Slave One because he jacks people up, puts them in carbon, and kills people. He's not a good guy. Why? His ship is going to have a bad name. We love the bad guys. I'm just saying. It's a non-issue. First, I
can guarantee you 100% that this decision came from Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, the thing is that I was talking to a buddy of mine about this who happens to be African American, and and he's really a huge fan of the stuff that we're fans of, and he's like, I have no problem with this. Now, if we want to talk about the representation of Jar Jar Binks, that's another issue. Or if you're going to put the Confederate flag and slap it on the Slave One and call it Slave One, then we're going to talk. That's another issue. But clearly, that's not this.
Well, what's interesting is like throughout Star Wars, slavery has been an issue because the Empire basically enslaved alien races. That was like part of their whole thing. So slavery does exist in the Star Wars universe. And I mean, we saw it in Return of the Jedi with Leia, like this revisionist aspect of it, it's like, okay, if you want to change it, don't just erase what came before. Like, they destroyed the Razor Crest, have Slave One get blown up, and have Boba Fett get a brand new ship or something. Like, there's lots of ways to do this that would have been less offensive to the fan base, I think.
Exactly. And also slavery, It's not just that it's part of the Star Wars universe. Almost every culture has practiced some form of slavery. Hell, slavery is still practiced in many parts of the world, not the Western world, but, well, Britney Spears might disagree, but in many parts of the world, slavery is still practiced to this day. It's not a uniquely American thing.
It's practiced in Hollywood, Andre. Just ask any intern or writer's assistant. Yeah.
But back to Star Wars, slavery, just like what Kadish was saying, Anakin was a slave. Slavery was, it's throughout Star Wars. So
yeah, it's par for the course.
And even then, people don't have a problem with that because they get the story.
I saw the funniest meme today on Twitter where it was that scene where Padme first meets Anakin, and she's like, do you mean to tell me you're a slave? And he says, actually, my name is Boba Fett.
Yeah, I saw that meme. Where basically they like changed his face for like Boba Fett for the
changed his face to Boba Fett's spaceship.
Yeah, you have to see it, I guess. But Matt, you brought up one interesting point. Like, you were recently sure that Kathleen Kennedy is the one who was behind this change. Yeah. And that could very well be the case because she's not out the door yet. Why would you think that she is the one behind it, and what would be her motivation for doing this?
I mean, just from her ideological point of view, like I had dinner with a guy the other day who had direct involvement with Lucasfilm on the video game side of things. And he told me an interesting story about how he was at this EA event to talk about some Star Wars games. And it was like him and two other influencers that were supposed to take the stage, and they were all white guys. And they booted them from the event for making the TV appearance because Kathleen Kennedy said she didn't want white men representing Star Wars on this event. And so they replaced them with like 3 like Swedish programmers who were also white. And she got really upset. And she's like, you guys didn't understand what I meant by like no white men. This is coming secondhand, so I don't know the validity of this story, but like that was the story that I was told. And just seeing as like, the Force is female and all this stuff that she has a history of doing, she really does like to place like her ideological outlook onto the stuff that happens at Lucasfilm. And so like I could just see her being like, why is this shit called Slave One? That's offensive. Why don't we change the name? And I could see that just because like Jon Favreau, any of these other people, like they would not make this decision. It had to come from her. And that's just like how I see it,
Well, now hold on here, man. What's wrong with white guys for this lady? I mean, seriously, what is wrong with?
She just thinks they're overrepresented. She wants like more diversity.
She married one.
Oh yeah,
Steven Spielberg built her career. What is? I mean, white dudes have been nothing but gracious and amazing and provided opportunities for her to become what, a multi-hundred millionaire? What the hell? What's wrong with white guys? I don't know. I'm triggered.
Well, they probably stood in her way, I guess.
From being what, the most powerful woman in Hollywood? What the hell? Oh, gee, cricket.
She was kind of handed every opportunity, wasn't she?
Yes, thank you. Everybody talks about being an executive producer. Well, you know what? I mean, if I were working for Steven Spielberg and he told me to go get some money and, go make a few phone calls and hire a few companies, I think I could do that with a cell phone and say, hey, Steven Spielberg's coming out with a new movie. You want to invest? Okay, here's where you write the check out here. Here's where you wire. Okay, I'm going to go make burritos the rest of the afternoon. Okay, my job here is done.
I think the real issue with Kennedy is that she's crossed that line from becoming like a good steward of the IPs into becoming an activist who's using the IPs to push her agenda. And so like she's taking stuff like Indiana Jones and Star Wars and she's changing it to promote propaganda as opposed to, making it better and a long-term viable franchise for fans of the future. So it's just like it's her MO. She's been doing it since the day she got into the head of Lucasfilm. So.
Mm-hmm. You know what? She's the original Karen. I'm calling it now. I don't know why we call Karens Karens. We should call them Kathleen's.
That's a good point.
She's the original Karen.
I'm sure many Karens out there would be in favor of that change.
I mean, I think you're right, man. I mean, remember all those shots where like she's wearing, the Forces female shirts and, in her inner circle and her writers group. I mean, you're right. Those are all her peeps and all that. And I can totally see her doing something whimsical. Like, hey, can someone order some shirts that say the Forces female? Okay, you go do that. Yeah, let's put it on the expense account. We're going to go take some pictures. I'm quite sure that didn't come from Eisner or Iger at the time.
I actually think those shirts came from the head of Nike because he was throwing that event, and he's on the board of Disney. So I think it was like
He's probably one of the people that has pushed Disney in this direction because on Disney's board of directors, they have some extreme activists.
Yeah. I mean, they used to have Jack Dorsey, the head of Twitter, on their board.
Yeah, and you know who there still is their single biggest shareholder? I forgot her name right now, but the widow after Steve Jobs. And she's a card-carrying activist.
Yeah. If you look at Disney's board of directors, they're all far, far leftists, like huge Obama donors, huge Biden donors.
None of them have been there longer than there's only one that's been there longer than 8-9 years. I did a feature video with Valiant Renegade a while back where we looked at the board of directors and the governance. And normally in a corporation, these are the true stewards. These are supposed to be the true stewards, right? Because the president, CEO, all these guys report to the board, right? But in reality, if you look at their board, it's weak. It's a bunch of weak-ass people. Yes, you're right, a lot of left-leaning folks and stuff, but they're weak. The longest one that's been there has been there maybe like 9, 10, 11 years. And all the rest of them have been appointed in the last like 2 to 5 years. All of them. And they're all weak
activists. Weak
well,
activists.
Though. I'm left-leaning. I'm not weak.
I didn't say all left people are weak.
I just want to finish. I'm left-leaning. I'm not weak. I'm not woke, but I'm progressive. And there's a huge difference. And I just want to interject that for argument's sake, that there's a huge difference as we go, because we hit these stories every day, different channels, and I think it's a good thing to point out, and it's important.
Well, absolutely.
I would
it's
like
not a matter of anyone like being leftist or anything like that, not per se. It's a matter of there are people that are activists, and you can have activists completely regardless of political scale. But these activists, they're not even progressive. They are so extreme that they're regressive.
Yeah, I would like to point out that when I talk about how they're left-leaning Obama donors, Biden donors, stuff like that, the point I'm trying to make is that they're these rich liberal elitists who live in a bubble of wealth and fame in Hollywood and New York City. And, these are people who are heads of other companies besides being on the board of Disney. So their butts are kissed constantly. No one ever calls them on their BS. The media gives them tons of cover. And so the way they look at the world is that they know better than everyone else. Everyone who doesn't believe the same way as they do is stupid. And their job is not just to create, entertainment for people. It's to re-educate people to make them see the world the way they do. And so like when we have a Kathleen Kennedy who's running Star Wars in the ground, they look at that as like, oh, she's doing the work that we want her to do, as opposed to like, oh, she's costing our shareholders money. So it's a different thing to talk about politics in the upper echelons of these big businesses, because they really do, the ideology translates downward, and the people who work under them either adopt that ideology or are hired because they already have that ideology, because these people want sycophants working for them as opposed to people who would actually challenge them.
And let me say, I agree more with that what you just said than I do. Because that's what you're talking about is elitism. You're talking about class and wealth. Absolutely. So those people have a certain view of Latinos and how they and what roles they should be in, and how they're used, and that's where they slap the X on.
I think everyone can agree that we want more diversity and inclusion and stuff in Hollywood or in entertainment. It's just a question of how they're going about doing it, because what they're doing is they're co-opting beloved stuff and forcing it into diversity and inclusion, as opposed to lifting up new IPs that promote that type of thing, which is, I think, a more successful strategy long-term, because it's giving, minorities, people of color, women, stuff like that, new stuff to latch onto and grow up with, as opposed to just like, trying to punish people for being born a certain color and liking a certain thing 30 years ago, I mean, that's one thing. I'm just talking about more of like, they're casting a movie, or they're casting a TV show, and it's like, oh, we got to check those boxes, make sure we got a black, make sure we got a Latino in there. You see, hey, that's Netflix's playbook for all the new original stuff. If you look at it,
and if you hear people from Danny Trejo to Eddie Olmos, who are legends, period, they'll tell you they got to go. What do they got to do? They got to constantly re-explain their freaking experience when they're pitching stuff, because these elitists don't give a shit. They don't care. They're lazy. They don't want to. They're just okay. You got. Can you make money? You got the Latino name. Cool. With Trejo, he said, diversity's fine, but I want Latino investors to be. If you're going to be talking about diversity, I want Latino investors to put money behind independent Latino productions. Right? He goes against that. That's why that article that came out this week on him, which was fascinating, because they were trying to pin him as like stereotypes bad. He's like, look, I made a living off stereotypes, and I opened doors for other Latinos because of my stereotypes.
I love Danny Trejo. Have you ever had his donuts?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right in Santa Monica and Highland.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know Danny Trejo, the actor, he opened a donut shop in LA.
I had no idea.
Yes.
His face is painted on the
side. Super famous. I can't believe you never heard of it. It's super duper famous.
He's also got a taco shop in LA as well. And his face is painted on the side of the buildings. And,
he's in industry now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I would go to Trejo's Donuts if I still lived in LA.
So
I'm going there next time.
They have.
And I want to clarify my point about weak ass. Okay, when I say weak, I didn't get to finish because Paulie said he needed to finish. But let me finish my thought here, which is that when I look at boards of directors, I'm in business for a living. All my clients are business owners. I've sat on boards. I don't do it now, but I'm thinking about doing it again. Look, when I'm talking, the biggest problem is that when on boards of directors, you need people with business experience on these boards of directors. Most corporations that do well and thrive, that can't kind of bank on the Hollywood entertainment, revenues of the masses, have very strong boards of directors where the people are well-versed in areas of audit, well-versed in areas of tax, international tax, finance. They're well-versed in all marketing, distribution, and whatnot. These people that are on this board, they're not weak necessarily because of their political beliefs, although I may not agree with them. That's a different conversation that, Paulie was going in, which I agree with everything that Paulie said completely. But the thing is that you have to have a strong board of directors, because in the absence of a strong board of directors, you can have these weirdo, wacko ideas that come out from staff. And by the way, president, CEO, they're all staff. Okay, yeah, they get a shitload of stock options, but they're not putting, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're sure as hell when they need a check for, $5 billion, they're not the ones writing them, these CEOs and these, VPs of finance. So we need stronger people on these boards of directors that are on the companies that own the properties that we so much care and love about. And we don't give any attention to the boards of directors. We'll give all kinds of heat to KK and all kinds of heat to all kinds of people, this director, that director. But you know what? We got to start giving some heat to the boards of directors of these properties, because those are the ones that are really the stewards of the corporations that are traded publicly with our public dollars, that are not taking care of the greater good of the public, which is to protect our IPs.
And I just want to make, and for myself, point of clarity, I have no love for what KK and Lucasfilm have done to these Star Wars films. That's why I'm even here in this community. But I am not surprised when they, and this is a great example, Caters, right? Finn, what did he become? We thought he was a Jedi. He became a glorified janitor. Okay, the Rosie, whatever her name, Tico, she became a glorified computer person. ¿Cómo se llama? Oscar Isaac. He was a spice runner. Oh, so he was a drug dealer. Excellent.
Oh,
so
shit, that's right.
I love.
That's right.
Oh my God, you're completely right.
Oh my God, you're right, Paulie.
Well, so Ryan Johnson, KK, and JJ, this is what you call representation?
Lando was an absentee father.
Deadbeat father. They killed Han Solo, right? I mean, but we're talking right, like people, so-called quote unquote people of color. They're what? The glorified janitor who was a traitor, the Asian technician who was a computer expert with maps. and the Latino drug dealer.
And who ended up saving the day in the end? The swole white guy.
The swole white guy.
Yeah, Kylo Ren.
Kylo.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out to the insane hypocrisy of Hollywood. That's Hollywood. That's Hollywood right there.
Yeah. We got to get you to re-say that one more time and tape and get on a video, man. That was like awesome.
Yeah. And Paul, well, clip it from this. But anyway, Paulie, yeah, that's like the point here. Like, no one here is like saying anything about people on the left or progressives in general, because they aren't the problem. It's these fake ass elites, for lack of a better term, that think they're on the left only because it gains them power, and in reality, they are regressives, not progressives.
And Andre,
carry on.
We need to point out that all that stuff that Paulie just pointed out was created, written, and put on the screen by rich white men. So I always like this kind of argument from SJWs about the Ray and inclusion, diversity. It's like, guys, this is all from white men. You're defending the bad writing of white men. When you go to the bat for these terrible stereotypes that end up on screen. They don't seem to realize that. And it's kind of subversive because they only see what's in front of them. They don't see what's going on behind them.
Absolutely. And, you talk to some of these independent Latino directors that are trying to get into the business. They can't get a foot in because of Latinx pinche wocosos are holding the, you know, the quote unquote keys because they were hired. But newsflash, you're not going to get very far with who's in charge. You're not going to get very far with who's in charge. Your shows have already been canceled. Even the ones that have had audiences canceled. If they're bad, that's even worse for you. You know, I almost feel bad for some of these independent directors that I know, because I want to say, you don't need to go into, you know, I know it's a very hard road to produce something independently. There's a lot that goes on, but you know,
well,
yeah,
I can tell you as someone who's tried to produce movies independently in the past, being a white man doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt you by any means, but it's just as big of a struggle because, you know, in Hollywood, one of the reasons why I got out and started writing novels for a living was because in Hollywood, you're basically a professional beggar if you don't have the money to finance stuff yourself. Like, you're going to meetings with either producers or studio executives or whoever, and you're getting on your hands and knees and you're saying, like, please give me money so I can do what I want to do. And it's very rare that unless you have certain connections or what have you, that, you know, someone's willing to pony up millions of dollars for you to go and play with, especially if you don't have a track record showing that you know how to do what you do. Because the creative end of things, like, you might have a great idea for a story, but once you get on set, if you're a bad leader, because a director, it's not just about shooting the movie, it's about running the crew, it's about dealing with, like, you know, production issues and stuff like that. Like, you know, you could have a hugely creative talent that falls apart the minute he gets on set because he just doesn't know how to lead a crew. So it's a very high risk industry. And I think that one of the more interesting aspects of it is that you had, you know, African Americans for decades, you know, hitting their head against the wall until they finally broke through and they were able to, like, you know, carve out their own little niche in Hollywood where they were making, like, you know, films for Black people, producing films by Black producers and, you know, Black directors, Black writers. And they've kind of, like, you know, made big inroads into Hollywood. And, you know, the Latino community is just kind of starting to do that. Whereas, like, before, like, you know, they were still banging their heads against the wall. So it's not easy getting anything produced in Hollywood, no matter what race or gender you might be. It comes down to how much you're willing to hustle and how skilled you are as an individual in order to get stuff made and make stuff happen. That's why good producers are so hard to find, because good producers can actually make stuff happen, can actually get a movie made, find the funding for it, find people who can actually, like, you know, do a good job running the movie. And it's very rare in Hollywood, very hard to find.
I mean, you bring up some great points. That's, I mean, and I think you see whether they're whatever their background is, as far as the director, you always have them. They always talk about the producer, and they, you know, like, they find that one great producer, and they're producing films for their career. Like, they're always together. I think that's a great thing to have. But you're absolutely right about God, you need a great producer
and money.
Yeah, well.
You don't got money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, someone said in the chat, we need a different investor, sort of a fund or base, you know, that's independent.
Well,
do you think?
You know,
let me ask you this: do you think that the way, what's his name, Medea, the Medea guy, went about and he created his own industry in Georgia? And now it's like, you know, he can basically do what he wants as far as producing and making movies and TV shows. Do you think that's the route to go, Matt?
I'm not familiar with the gentleman you're talking about.
Tyler Perry. There you go. Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry, yeah. So Tyler Perry, yeah, like, you know, he was an example of one of the Black filmmakers that I was talking about earlier, where he basically, you know, he came into town and he was originally an actor. And I think he got into directing movies because he wanted to cast himself in the lead role. And basically, like, what he did is he zeroed in and he's like, I'm going to make movies for Black people, but I'm going to do stuff that's not being, because at the time, like when Tyler Perry kind of came into town, It was all like Boys in the Hood, and it was all like very like, it was about violent Black people in Hollywood. And he's like, I want to make movies about family. I want to make comedies. I want to do wholesome stuff for the Black audience because it's underrepresented. And so he kind of carved out his little niche in that. And his movies, because they were made on the cheap, were insanely successful in terms of like the return on investment. And that's one of the issues with film financing, is that it's such a risky investment. It's kind of like rolling the dice on a crap table. It's like you're either going to make a ton of money off of it, or you're going to lose all your money in that investment. And that's why a lot of these movies that are independently financed are usually tax shelters. It's that people want to lose that money so they don't have to pay taxes on it. And when it comes to Georgia, when Tyler Perry went out to Georgia, the interesting thing about that is that the state of Georgia offered huge tax credits to any kind of film production out there, which meant that you could save a lot of money by filming your TV show or movie in Georgia. And a lot of Hollywood took them up on those tax credits. And then they started doing stuff like passing abortion bills and things that were ideologically not compatible with what Hollywood likes. And so you have these companies kind of pulling out of Georgia, but the tax credits are still there. And so like if independent filmmakers want to take advantage of that, they can actually get much more bang for their buck in a state like Georgia than you could in a state like California, which is super expensive to film in, and hardly anyone shoots anything in LA anymore.
Yeah, very, very good points, all of it.
Boy, that was a great discussion between Paulie and Kadish right there. That was awesome.
That's the beauty with Midnight's Edge here. We are a place for discussions. Script Doctor is also in the chat and says, Tyler Perry was and is also a playwright with a number of stage plays he has under his belt.
He's a talented guy. He showed up in Star Trek.
I'd love to get Kadish on the slant and continue this conversation. Really respect what you're saying, brother.
I'm just telling you how it is, Paulie. This isn't revelatory stuff. It's like if you worked in the business and you tried to, I've made movies before. I went to film school. Like I was in the industry. Like this is this is inside baseball. This is the stuff that people like Script Doctor could probably tell you. This is stuff that people who work in the business run into constantly. And so you have this knowledge.
Yeah, it's, and I was telling you, Mrs. Slant is in the business, and, it's a constant dance that she has to do, from, trying to, and this is the thing with like ageism. I know that's been brought up, but actors are very, wary of that, because, she's trying to keep a certain look going so she can just be considered for jobs, forget her acting cred, which she went to school and graduate school for, so I hear you, bro. And I just want to just point out what a bad dude you are. Good stuff.
Bad isn't good, or bad
isn't good. Oh yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Badass dude is kind of like what you're saying then. Yeah.
I was going to say, are you mangolding me right now?
Being Matt. I just did a 2-minute you kick ass and you're like, oh, you mangolding me. That's your job.
Also, on the note of mangold, we have a couple of super chats and I want to go through them. But before that, since you mentioned mangold, let's talk a little bit Indiana Jones. Because this week, we have gotten more rumors. And I stress that they are rumors because they're not confirmed. But these rumors would have it that Harrison Ford could be out of the fray where filming Indiana Jones is concerned for up to 3 months, or maybe it's minimum 3 months. In case of shoulder injuries, one don't really know. But now, according to these rumors, we could be looking at 3 months before Harrison Ford returns to set. We know that the movie is still filming. At least we have every reason to think so, because James Mangold has tweeted from the set that filming carries on. And you can do plenty filming without Harrison Ford. But still, they even put out an official statement by way of Deadline Hollywood that that there would be multiple weeks before Harrison Ford could film again, and in the meantime they would film around it. But they can't do that for a whopping 3 months. I mean, that's like the entire production schedule. So assuming this rumor is true, it might not be, but just assuming that it's true, that an 80-year-old man, or nearly 80-year-old man, is going to take some time to heal his shoulder injury, whatever the nature of that injury may be. If there's a 3-month delay, how do you all think that is going to affect proceedings? And since Matt, the Mangold Slayer, is the one closest to proceedings there, I want your thoughts last. Mike, let's begin with you first on this one. What are your thoughts on this? What's the prospect for Indiana Jones if it really is 3 months delayed?
I don't know. I mean, this is heartbreaking to find. I'm a fan of Harrison Ford, and this is very heartbreaking. And I certainly didn't think it was a great idea for him to be doing anything action related at his age. I mean, I'm certainly not in as great a shape as he is, but I'm also not as old as he is. I hope it's nothing serious. I can only say that, look, as someone who broke, something recently, these things take a long time to heal and heal properly. Am I walking? Sure. I mean, I broke my leg in a few different places and shattered it and all this, and that's all healed up. But, I can't even go for a jog. My left side of my body is ready to go running, and then this right leg just won't go. So, God almighty, I hope it's not serious. I'm a fan of his, and whether it's whether it's self-motivated or kind of encouraged by the people around him, it just really makes me sad that he's hurt at all as a great actor. And I'm sure that this is something that he's passionate about, and I just hope that he does well. But as far as how the things go for the movie, look, I broke my leg. It changed my whole life, and I never really got. I'm still 4 months behind from the 3 months I lost from the leg and a month I lost from moving. I don't know if this picture might ever happen. I mean, I've always heard that. I had this interesting talk with Valiant Renegade yesterday on, I think it was After Dark. Yeah, it was After Dark. And there's just so many logistics that go into the financial and accounting side of this thing. You have insurance when you're on the set. You have the picture itself has to be insured. There's logistical issues. I mean, you're going to put this thing off. What happens when they're ready to go again? Do they have the same crew? Do they not? The timeline changes. Are they on to another, assignment? Maybe. Are they available? You got to get different people. So much from, and I've learned a lot from Paulie. Paulie's been a great teacher and mentor in this area because he has a lot of experience and connections and relationships in Hollywood. And, I think as a fan, I never really thought about the logistics involved and what comes to pass when you actually have to put these things together and get them out. And God almighty, I just hope that just from a logistic, regardless of whether or not I'm excited or not about the script, I do want to see this movie. It's an amazing property. He's an amazing actor. And whether or not in advance it's promoted as going woke or not, I'm going to go see this movie. But now I don't know if I'm going to be able to go see this movie. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, they have to be able to finish it first. Paulie the Mentor, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think we'll be seeing this movie at all, since we could be looking at a 3-month delay? And if we are looking at a 3-month delay, it's a very good chance it might not be just 3 months. Those 3 months could easily be 6 and 7 and 8 and 9.
My feeling is that Mr. Harrison is done, and that'll be the bomb, and they're just needing 3 months to figure out how they're going to maybe rework it or drop it. And I think that's why Mangold freaked out when he did that day, because he knows what I mean. They're keeping something from us. I think it was a lot more serious, because if it wasn't, Ford is a maverick. He's just not the man who he was before. I'm just talking about physically, our bodies break down, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, I turned 50, and I am just starting to do weightlift training, because that is what's recommended for men when they turn 50, as far as keeping their frame strong. And it's work. So I I think they were hoping they could get this film done without that happening. But those are my feelings. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's like the thing that we do not know the nature of his injury, and what I find interesting is that they haven't told us exactly what his injury is. We've heard unspecified shoulder injury, but that could mean anything. I mean, that could be a slight little sprain that's over in a week, or it could be rotator cuff, it could be ligament injury, it could be a shattered bone, it could be something he can never use that arm again from. We don't know. What we do know is that director James Mangold, he had an awful freak out on Twitter after the first week of filming. So I'm thinking that whatever happened in that first week of filming. Now, Mangold Slayer, what are your thoughts on all of this?
First of all, I love James Mangold. I would never slay him. He's I'm his biggest fan right now. So, but I can tell you this: Mexican Iron Man was correct. Like, they would have never been able to start rolling cameras with Harrison Ford if he wasn't fully bonded and insured and stuff like that. So, this movie is going to get made. It's going to go in the can. Disney would never let a major franchise picture like Indiana Jones just like linger and die on the vine. By hook or by crook, this movie is going to get done and it's going to get released. They probably are. I think when this injury happened, they were very early on in the shooting schedule. And so part of being a director and a good director is dealing with, obstacles and crises as they present themselves on set and figuring out a way around them. So I'm sure Mangold and, his team kind of like when the injury happened, they kind of got together and tried to figure out a way forward. And so like they're probably going to be shooting around Harrison Ford's absence. He doesn't need to be fully healed to come back. Like they can bring him in for like close-ups, and as long as he's not doing any strenuous action, they can always just bring in a double and then CGI his face on top of that double later on. There's lots of ways they can get around having him actually on set. They can also, do a lot of second unit stuff for like the planned action scenes. And they can also do stuff where like they might, shoot something in the meantime, like when Robert Zemeckis was doing Castaway, and they shot all the stuff with fat Tom Hanks first, and then they took like 6 months off while he was like losing weight to go and shoot another Harrison Ford movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. I forget the name of it, but so like there are ways where you can keep the crew together and you can be like productive while Harrison Ford is recuperating. And, this type of thing has happened before, like Shia LaBeouf, he broke his arm in the middle of filming Transformers 2, I think. And they found a way to like, shoot around it. I think Harrison Ford broke his leg on The Force Awakens, and they found a way to shoot around it. So, there are ways to go about doing this that, can continue on with the production. So it might be a little bit behind schedule and over budget, but at the end of the day, we are going to get Indiana Jones 5. There's just, no possible way I could conceive of that doesn't happen. Even if Harrison Ford were to die, I hope that's not the case. But like, if he were somehow removed from the equation completely, they would still find a way to finish that movie. And if they couldn't, they'd be reimbursed by the bonding and insurance that they had on the actor. So Disney wouldn't actually be out any production costs in the long run.
All right, there we go.
Can I just say, though, I think Polly makes a really interesting point or a caveat because of Harrison Ford's age and so forth. I mean, maybe he could be done. I mean, Polly brought up a sort of different point, but just I think he probably might be onto something there. I mean, he's
men half of Harrison Ford's age get injured rehearsing fight scenes for movies. I mean, it's still it's kind of like when people say professional wrestling is fake. It's hard to fake jumping off of like a 20-foot ladder onto like a mat. You can't fake gravity. You can't fake impact. Like it's still a physical thing, even if you're just play fighting or stage fighting or what have you. So the idea that a 78-year-old man was, actually involved in fight scenes, to me, was a big red flag. My concern was initially just believability. Like, can Harrison Ford pull off being an action star, looking like an action star at his age? Because we saw it. I don't know if you guys ever saw The Irishman, but every time Robert De Niro had to do something physical in that movie, it looked like Grandpa hodling around, even though they had de-aged him, and it was laughable. It was almost comedic, and I don't want that to happen with Indiana Jones. And so, like, when I was, laying my criticism and Mangold was responding to that, Harrison Ford actually being injured was the furthest thing from my mind. It was all about the believability of Indiana Jones as an action star at 78 years old. And then when he got injured, I was horrified because, like, I don't want Harrison Ford to be hurt. I love Harrison Ford. And, it's just that at a certain point, you hit an age where you should be like the mentor. You should be the elder statesman. You should be the guy who isn't the one throwing the punches. You should be Sean Connery in The Last Crusade as opposed to Indiana Jones, So it's one of those things where I was like, I don't know what they're doing. I have a theory that they're filming stuff with Harrison Ford to de-age him and make this like an earlier Indiana Jones adventure. I think that's the big twist that they're like kind of hiding from us. But honestly, like at this point, I think that that the production is probably in a bit of flux and stuff might change. I don't know what the script is going to be, but I seriously hope that they're able to pull a good movie out of it, because I want a good Indiana Jones movie, especially after the last one.
Yeah, I think we all want that. And then, let's see. Then we have a couple of super chats that I promised, and we can bring a couple up on screen. Valiant Renegade says for $9.99. Thank you so much, my friend. Hail Midnight's Edge. Mike talking about me again. Great conversation today. On the road and enjoying the discussion tremendously. Chat, hit that like and share. Yes, indeed, do that. And after you've done that, head on over to Valiant Renegade. Check out his channel and subscribe to that as well. Also, check out the Salty Nerd podcast. And while you're at it, the Latino slant, and of course, Midnight's Edge Espanol. And then, let's see, Dark King says for $2 Australian, Indiana Jones and the deep faked stunt double. Yeah, we could end up there before you know it. And Dash Attack says, in the meantime, subscribe to Latino Slant. Dash Attack says, remember when I told you a while ago that bronies were worried about Gen 5 being SJW, and Tom said, wasn't it already SJW? Well, check out Clownfish TV. They have a follow-up. All right, we'll have to do that. Personally, I know very little about bronies and My Little Pony in general, apart from the original thing apparently being some pretty hardcore stuff. But yeah, we'll have to check out that follow-up then. And then we have some older super chats that I can no longer bring up on screen, but that's okay because I still have them here behind the scenes. So let's go through those and get caught up while we are at it. Then we have, let's see, Film Lars said for 200 Danish krona. Tusen takk. Hail Midnight's Edge. New movies are terrible, but you're cool and smart and badass. Make a retro show about old awesome movies and call it 80s Edge. Not a bad idea. We'll see if we can do something with that. Then House Atreides said for $2 Canadian, just another of many slaps to the face of the fans. Oh, that reminds me. A belated happy Freedom Day or whatever national holiday it was that you guys had in Canada yesterday. But whatever it was, congratulations, and yeah, all of that. Mr. Tickle Trunk has a name suggestion to replace Slave One, namely, those camps we thanked won. I like that one. sent us a 99-cent super sticker, so thanks so much for that. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says for 5 Canadian dollars, all the race talk and obsession on race is so American-centric. On behalf of the rest of the damn world who thinks nationally, please stop. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that. It's like, yeah, just stop. But America is more of a melting pot than anywhere else on the planet, so there is that. And Michael Miller sent us 14 South African Rand super chat that has been redacted, or there's no message, but thank you for the support in either event. And Nintendo Power says for $5, there's a difference between being liberal and leftoid hacktivism. Yes, indeed there is. Those are two very different things. Tina Bojan says for $5, although we like to equate Disney and wokeism, I feel it's more likely they wanted to avoid some Google/Amazon search results for the terms slave toy. You know, we actually had someone on Twitter try that. Or it was someone that said on Twitter that they had tried it. They had switched off safe search and they have searched for it, and the results were still just slave one. So yeah, I think that may be a poor excuse. I think there's more to it. Mr. Tickle Trunk also says people end up all diverse and inclusive naturally now because we don't care. Normal people don't care what you are. Hollywood is who needs to catch up with us. Yeah, that certainly fits with the Mexican Iron Man's experiences in his move from California to South Carolina.
Well, I mean, Andre, if I could say something,
Go for it.
I mean, I live here in Los Angeles. I'm an LA boy, and I mean, the reality is, daily living. You're absolutely right. No, we don't talk about these things. You know, we're like, "How's your day? Oh, you're going on vacation. Oh, how's that job you got? Or what's going on? You know, you're healthy." And people of all different backgrounds. It's just real living. You know, you're gonna tell me that that the men that are doing the heavy lifting in construction and road work, building buildings, freeways, all that good stuff. You think they have time for any of this garbage? No, man, they're working. So you're absolutely right. In reality, we have other real problems that we got to deal with. Probably the basic one is the first one I'd say is food. Yes, we all have to eat every day, so that means we have to work. So that brings us together more often than not.
Yeah, we all basically have all the same needs and all the same stuff we got to do, regardless of who and where we are. We all have like the same obligations everywhere. So that's the great unifier for most people. And then Rolf Hartman says, can't they just rename Slave 1 to Britney 1? And,
hey, Andre.
Yeah.
I think another issue, just going back to what Paulie just said, is that, a lot of people turn to movies and TV shows and stuff like that to get away from a lot of the stuff that happens in the real world, a lot of this, political disagreement, a lot of this, kind of cultural strife, stuff like that. They want a place to escape to. And when the people making that escapism injects the real world stuff into that escapism, people don't have anywhere to go to get away from it. They don't have anywhere to go to escape from the real world. There are tons of, white men out there who don't care about all this BS and they want to watch a movie or play a video game or something like that without being told that they're evil or misogynist or like whatever. And Hollywood's taken that away from them and they get upset about it. And so like they have to fight back if they want to salvage the thing that they want to escape to. I think that's the real issue here in America, more so than the actual, racism or sexism or whatever ism you want to inject into there, is that we don't have the escapist entertainment that we need to get away from the BS that's bombarding us constantly. Like, you can't turn on the TV without, it being put right in your face. And so, like, I think that's more of an issue than, us just obsessing over it. It's being forced upon us. Like, I think everyone on this panel would prefer not to have to talk about this crap, and instead be arguing over, like, the nerdy expanded universe stuff that is part of our favorite franchises. And instead, we're being forced to deal with propaganda that's being injected into this stuff that is taking away our enjoyment from our favorite way of getting away from the BS of the real world. And that's the real issue here.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And John Miller, I can bring this one up on screen, says for $5, it's 2021. I live in the South. If racism existed, there would be a war down here. Race is one decisive political tool to segregate us for votes. And that absolutely could be.
I guess as a fellow Southerner, I need to respond to that one. Well, I'm in South Carolina, and I've had nothing but good experiences here. So I love it here. I'm so happy I got here a month ago. Love it. Love the South. Woohoo!
Good stuff. Good times. I'm really looking forward to visiting the South myself when I get to the States next time.
Yeah, you should come to Vegas, Andre.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. I love being in Vegas.
No, you should come to South Carolina first, Kadish.
Yeah.
Hey, we have an international airport out here.
Hey, we have a...
Guys, I have a far better idea. Road trip.
There we go.
Road trip to Polly's house. How about that?
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. What?
No, I have a better one. I have a road trip. From Mike's house to Polly's house with the pit stop by Matt's house.
Okay, sounds good. Done.
During the summer, I'd say
that's a road trip to LA.
Not to Southern California, not to Vegas.
Oh, there he goes, selling his weather again, Kadish. You see that?
Yeah,
just wait till the fall, Andre. Don't come out here during the summer.
Yeah, I won't be able to come right now, even if I wanted to, which I do. And yeah, Mags also points out, that's not what I meant to point out, but yeah, Rick also makes a good point there because the chat flies by.
Mm-hmm.
But Mags also pointing out Southern girl repping here.
Yeah, Mags. Yeah, and Matt is 100% on his point. 100%. I mean, what did I say first? What brings us together to the table? Food. Then what else, Matt? Entertainment, music. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or
and we want it to be good.
Trejo donuts and tacos. That's what brings us to the table.
Brother. Do they got a Trejo cantina?
I really want to try that now.
I would love for Danny Trejo to open up a restaurant here in Vegas. I would be there every day.
He opened one up just in Chicago now. So he's not just in Southern California. So real quick, he's got Trejo's Cantinas, Trejo's Coffee and Donuts, and Trejo's Tacos.
Have you ever been to Alice Cooper's restaurant in Phoenix?
No. Where in Phoenix is it?
It's in Phoenix.
Downtown?
Yeah, but he's got this massive like Alice Cooper thing, and he's got this. When I went there, I got the Frankenweenie. It's like a hot dog this big. It was awesome.
You've been to Pink's, haven't you? Speaking of hot dogs.
Oh yeah, I mean, who hasn't? Who lived in?
I was there the other night. I had a spicy Polish dog and onion rings.
I don't like waiting in the line though.
Well, there was no line. It was late at night, so it was pretty dead.
Is it COVID restrictions? Nobody wants to be waiting in line.
It's now getting back to normal, which means horrible traffic during the day. But I was surprised how empty it was. But it was later at night. But
so for those of you who don't know, Pink's Hot Dogs is like a staple in Hollywood. It's very It's a famous hot dog stand on La Cienega Boulevard.
I have eaten there.
And they're famous for their super long lines because people just line up outside the place. And you've probably seen it in movies and TV shows and not even realized it. But it's in like whenever you shoot in LA, you have to shoot at Pink's for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. But they have a second location in Universal City that I used to go to because there were no lines there. So
Yeah, there I actually have eaten.
Yeah. They got good hot dogs. I love their chili cheese dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I was hurting the next day, but it was worth it.
You always hurt the next day after visiting. Yeah.
It was worth it.
Have you ever been to Cantor's Deli?
Of course. Yeah.
Dupar's
for the apple pie.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah, man.
pancakes.
Yeah. The pancakes.
A lot of big screenwriters. I'm sure if Script Doctor is still in the chat, he'll know this. A lot of big screenwriters just go to Dupar's, sit there with their laptop, write their screenplays. It's right across from the Writers Guild too. So
I mean, yeah, Dupar's is like, it's also like the little like throwback as far as just like architecture. It's almost like you're still in the 40s. A little,
yeah, like they built the farmers market around Dupar's.
Around it. Yeah. Yeah, and it's still pretty cheap, Dupar's. Not the other parts of it. But yeah, Dupar's is great.
There's a lot of great places in LA. It's so expensive to live and do anything there.
Yeah. A lot of good food though. But
a lot of good food here. A lot of good food here in Vegas. So if you ever want to move somewhere other than LA that still has good food, I can recommend this town.
we definitely need to visit. We definitely need to visit.
Yeah, I freaking loved Vegas when I was there. Way too short a time.
Yeah.
So
once you get off the strip, it's a very normal town.
Yeah. Yeah, I was taken by when I was there. I was taken by whoa, this is an awesome place. I could move here with my family. I mean, this city of sin rumors are greatly exaggerated. To me, that's like a family town.
Oh yeah. Good place to raise a family.
Well, it depends who you go to Vegas with, Mr. Andre there. If you go meet Matt Kadich, I'm sure it's all family, friends, and hot dogs. But let's just say this. You go with Mexican Iron Man, we're rolling in Rolling Thunder, baby.
If you come in with Tom Connors Jr., you're never leaving. So.
Oh, that's a point. So, yeah.
Got to say goodbye to Mrs. Slan if I do that.
Yeah, no, well, we can't have any of that. So
when you go out with me, I come with a warning, objects in mirror may party harder than you think.
Yeah, Paulie will have to get the permission slip.
Man, I don't know.
He knows me well enough to not even get in the car.
This is true.
See, he didn't even fight that one. Good points all around. Well, gentlemen, before we move on, we're going to do a couple of more super chat here. Joachim Stark says for 20 Swedish krona, must watch. Hijabi Gamer's video, White Man Not Bad. Yes, everyone, go check out the Hijabi Gamer. Anyway, she has an awesome channel and some great insights. So do check that out. Willie Woodward says, I'm enjoying this stream. Thanks, guys. Oh, thank you, Willie, and thank you to everyone who's watching and enjoying this in this lovely Friday in the middle of summer. So it's awesome to have so many of you here watching. I'm surprised. Yeah, we have almost 800 watching. So hit that like and share, everyone. Then we have the Rubber Band Man, who says for $4.99, remember John Boyega dressed down Kathleen Kennedy over the treatment of Black and Hispanic characters in Star Wars. Yes, we remember that. So I bet you there was a crisis meeting at Disney that day. Granwasu42 says for €10, inside baseball, gimme, gimme, gimme. Hail Kadish, and thanks for sharing this with us. So, all experiences are most welcome here. Then we have Durao On, who says for €2, bonjour à tous. Hail the Mangold Slayer.
He's still alive and kicking. I don't know why people keep calling him.
The funny thing is you're a fan of most of his works, but you're going to go down in history as the Mangold Slayer. Oh, my God. We need merchandise on your website for this. We got to add it to your channel.
We're certainly going to call his emoji that, Mangold Slayer.
Yeah, we have a T-shirt coming out that's going to be Mangold Baby or Man Baby Gold, something like that.
Oh, that's epic.
Yeah, that is epic stuff. And with that, let's try to move into the. Oh, actually, I want to do this super chat because I can get it up on screen. HyperGyver2 says for $5, you want good hot dogs, you go to Red Hot Ranch on 35th in Chicago or the Vienna Beef Factory. Everything else is just pale imitation.
I have to say something about this. So I've been to Chicago numerous times. I've had Chicago dogs. There's actually a hot dog restaurant, Paulie, I don't know if you've ever been there. It's in Reseda, California. It's called Fab Hot Dogs. They were on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. It's probably the best hot dog joint I've ever been to in my life. So if anybody wants a good hot dog, no offense to the Chicagoans out there, but this place puts Chicago dogs to shame. They actually have Chicago dogs there that you can get. They're just as authentic. It's called Fab Hot Dogs, and it's on Victory Boulevard in Reseda, California. So definitely check that out.
You ever been to Portos?
Nope.
You know Portos, right by the Warner Brothers, right there in Burbank.
Oh, is that Mexican joint?
It's not Mexican, but you're kind of right. It's a huge bakery. They make Cuban sandwiches. They make bakeries.
I was thinking there's a Mexican restaurant right across the street from Paramount Studios that they used to have lots of meetings.
Oh no, that's old. That's the old. That's the old Adobe. That food is okay. That's more like kind of like for looks. The place is old school looking.
Yeah. Andre, we're just going to be a food podcast.
I know. We should stop now.
You guys are killing me over here. I'm not saying shit, but you guys are killing me.
No, I was thinking the one in the Warner Brothers in Burbank, the newer one. So up the road is a place called Portos, and because you mentioned Reseda, it's kind of close, but not really. But Portos is they do Cuban sandwiches. They have a huge bakery, and you talk about lines. Oh my God, it's in Glendale. So it's that food is just. I'm surprised you haven't tried that spot out. But
I don't live in LA anymore, so.
Yeah, no. Because you mentioned
probably would be why
you got around to Reseda. I'm like, okay, well he's had to have had Portos,
No, I didn't make it out to around Warner Brothers too much when I actually lived in Los Angeles. So it was always traffic was so bad.
Yeah.
Hyper guy, I got to take you to task on the hot dogs, man.
Yeah, I was thinking those fighting words all around.
I'm a fat white guy. I can go toe to toe on hot dogs all day long. So.
Well,
I suggest like a blind test is the way to resolve that issue, or we can move into the next topic of discussion and leave the matter for another day. That's another way of doing it.
I'll say this: Chicago has one type of hot dog. Fab's has like 20,000 different hot dogs that are all amazing. So. Yeah,
but if that one is better than any of those 20,
it's not. I've had them all, Andre. I know what I'm talking about. I speak from experience. Okay.
Have you had the Dodger dog?
The Dodger dog?
Dodger dogs. Yeah.
I don't think
at the stadium.
Stadium. At Dodger. Yeah, I have had those. Yeah. They're good. They're overpriced, but good.
Yeah.
Oh,
these hot dog wars have.
Maybe we will. Yeah, maybe we'll do a salty slant hot dog stream.
A hot dog stream, yeah, that'd be something.
The vegans are triggered in chat.
I might be left leaning, guys, but I am not a vegan. I'm a meat, carnitas, menudo.
I tried going raw vegan for a while when I worked in the industry.
What?
That was not fun.
What?
Raw vegan. Talk about tough.
Wait a minute. Wait. Isn't that where like you can't even do like cheese and stuff like that?
Yep. No cow animal products, no eggs, nothing. And you couldn't cook anything either, which was really crazy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, raw vegan. It means like you have to eat vegan, and you.
So I can't stir fry my bell peppers up like in a little stir fry combo kind of thing.
Nope.
What kind of living is that?
It was tough. I did it for about 2 weeks, and I was so miserable. I couldn't stick with it.
Well, I'm sure you lost a lot of weight in those 2 weeks, though.
No, I just became really irritable.
Well, that was completely pointless then.
You eat more and you're still hungry. You know.
Actually, you eat less because all the stuff that you do eat is terrible. It tastes terrible. So.
Well, and I was trying to. I got a hold of Romy. She reminded me of the best hot dogs we ever had. Because for me, it's JJ's in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. OMG, JJ's, which rivals Nathan's.
I'm telling you, Paulie, you have to go to Fab's, get the Ripper dog, and get the Texas Burrito dog.
I'm gonna do it, bro. You know what? I will do a little short video when I'm out there.
Cool.
Yeah,
sounds good. Because Joachim Stark also says Midnight's Edge hot dog after dark, and.
That's
with
awesome.
That, let us try to get into the next topic of conversation.
Andre, we got to talk about different things for a minute, and I appreciate you letting us talk about food.
Yeah, this is no longer an entertainment show. It's a cooking show.
Of course, I'll give you 5-10 minutes. Just have to move on.
Yeah.
Well, then I wanted next show or one of the shows this month in July. I want to talk about lightsabers.
Okay,
sure, I'm just kidding. I'm completely kidding. I'm just kidding.
I know why he's bringing his lightsabers up.
What?
Because you kicked my butt in a lightsaber war.
Hey, I didn't even mention that. You just mentioned that.
Okay, now everyone knows Mexican Iron Man beat Paulie at lightsabers.
Andre, the video's on Twitter. Paulie, tell the people, since you mentioned it, tell the people how that went.
It was a joke. I was a joke. I was a joke. First of all, the hilts were real. It was like, these things are heavy. I need to practice. And then he starts coming after me like a madman. Like a Tasmanian Mexican devil with his skills. And then he slaps my pinky finger, and I'm like, ow, my finger.
Bucky calls it. Hey, Bucky, I'm gonna replay the sound. I'm gonna try to come up with the sound. Andre, this is how it went. It went vroom, 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 clash, vroom, vroom, clash, vroom, 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 vroom. Ah, my finger.
Grand West 242 illustrates how it went with the emojis.
Yeah, and here's the embarrassing part. The whole time Romy was filming us. So I looked bad in front of my girl. I was like, damn it. All right.
Yeah, it was an unfair fight, though, because Jesse Miller mentions that he says Mexican Iron Man has been practicing his whole entire life for that moment with Paulie when I was challenged.
Yeah, someone brought up my martial arts. Hey, I'm a grappler, so I'm like, I should have thrown the damn sword away and just grab Mexican Iron, get him to the ground, and put him in a crucifix or a chokehold or rear naked choke. Mata león, mata león,
or something like that.
Ouch! Ow! Lover, I'm a lover, not a fighter, Paulie. Ow!
You almost took on my pinky. That just sounds funny.
We're gonna bring back that video as for super chats and play it.
Yeah, we all have to see that video now.
All right, what's the next topic, boss?
Yeah, on that note, Andre's Thick Nordic Hammer says Andre wants to move on. Panel is like, nah, well, this is fun. So yeah, well, it's a relaxed Friday. No, next topic. How about, we can talk about Steven Spielberg for a little while, if you guys are cool with that. Because we had a story in the New York Post just a couple of days ago that I will be bringing up on screen here presently.
Do we have to talk about Spielberg? Can't we talk about hot dogs some more?
Oh my God. No, we're talking about Spielberg. We're moving on. We are still moving on.
Really fast. Me and Kata should do a hot dog reviews. Like we go to all the different ballparks, all the different baseball parks.
Pull up drunk 3PO and just do tourism videos.
All right, I'm gonna get a sponsor. Mexican Iron Man, work on that.
Wait, I gotta go find a sponsor for you and Cadence to do hot dog videos now?
Hell yeah.
What else are you doing for?
Well, of course, the hot dog stands. That's who you get to sponsor it.
It's a no-brainer.
Eat the hot dogs.
No, we can't be shilling for big hot dog. We got to be independent, man.
Okay, I'll put it on my list.
No, we'll pay for the hot dogs. I'm just
okay. I'll put it on my list. Okay,
Moving
on now.
Moving on, we have a story in the New York Post. It was published on June 30th, and the headline reads, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story adaptation is going to get him cancelled. So that's quite promising right there. And then we're going to get into the main story. For more than 4 decades, screen mavens have been eagerly awaiting the time when Steven Spielberg would bite the bullet and make a full-blown movie musical. Now he's done it. It comes out at Christmas time, and he's going to be cancelled for it. Yes, sometime around Thanksgiving, Spielberg, whose work for more than half a century now runs the gamut from unprecedented blockbusters and franchises, is going to go through the fires of cultural and political hell. Let me explain. 2 years ago, when he announced he was going into production on West Side Story, Hollywood cognoscenti understood Spielberg was swinging for the fences as a potential capstone of his glorious career. The most successful director of all time, remaking a beloved 1961 film that itself won an Academy Award for Best Picture and 9 others besides. He would only take such a reputational risk if he saw gold, Oscar gold, at the end of the rainbow. However, the New York Post apparently believes that he's not going to get that Oscar gold. Instead, they believe he's going to get cancelled because he is essentially the wrong color to be making such a movie. Now, I am curious. Paulie, let's begin with you this time. Do you think Steven Spielberg is going to be cancelled for making West Side Story?
Is Paulie there? Oh, he's muted. He had to go. He had to leave for 5 minutes.
Okay,
want to go next?
Mike.
Go?
Or Kadish, you want to go first then?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. This article is poppycock. Steven Spielberg is not going to get canceled over West Side Story. They're basing this off of what happened with In the Heights, where basically it was a failure, and the director apologized because he cast light-skinned Latinos as opposed to the more Afrocentric Latinos. And they're guessing that this is going to be the same for Spielberg. I think this is strictly a clickbait article. Basically, Spielberg, he doesn't need Oscars. He's won Oscars. He doesn't need anything. It's my understanding that this was a passion project of his. He's wanted to direct West Side Story for like years. And so this is something that he did because he loves the material. And that's pretty much all there is to it. He's not Oscar baiting. He's not looking to inject like social justice into anything. It's just him. And Spielberg is one of the untouchables in Hollywood. Even if people came out against him on Twitter or something like that, Hollywood wouldn't care. Steven Spielberg just signed a deal with Netflix to produce a bunch of stuff. His name guarantees that stuff is going to get made if it's attached to it. And he's bulletproof. And so this is a completely stupid article written by someone who just wants ad revenue.
Mike, Matt had quite a take there. Do you agree with it?
I actually do agree with this for 2 reasons that are. I agree with everything that he just said. I'm not going to repeat what he said. I'm just going to add 1 or 2 things to it, which is that what I do is I look at when something like this comes out, I want to analyze this. What is a periodical? What is the publication or the online presence that is producing this? That's letting it go. Now, if this is coming out of Variety, or if this is coming out of one of the close trade mags, let's say this had popped up in the Atlantic, right, type of thing, then I'm going to have a little bit of a very different reaction to this article, okay? Because you got to look at the publication, and then you got to look at who's the author of that. This guy, according to my IMDb Pro my membership, which I have, I just looked him up. This is not a guy who has a track record of being what we would call an entertainment insider or entertainment, someone who writes a lot of articles. So we look at this. It's a New York Post. So we got a New York trade. We got a New York non-trade rag because the Post covers all kinds of crap on all kinds of stuff. So we got the New York Post, which is basically like the National Enquirer. On any given Sunday, can be very National Enquirer-ish, and producing it. So we've got a non-credible source, and then we've got a non-credible person writing this. So where I'm at is that I'm really in Matt's camp on this thing, and there's just no way. I mean, I'll add a tertiary thing to my argument, which is that Cameron Pasha here on Midnight's Edge, I believe it was Midnight's Edge, or maybe it was Midnight's Edge Espanol, I can't recall on the channel, but he definitely had the point of view of being like it was a Here on Midnight's Edge where he talked about the Into the Heights thing. A lot of the attacks were by people that they're trying to set up West Side Story to do well. Let's tank this movie by again, I'm not going to go super political here, but let's just say let's tank this film that's done by this Latino director, and let's make up all these issues here about skin color and all this other horse crap, and but let's get things set up for like the guy who's going to do things the right way. I think as Cameron said things, as my brother Cameron has said, let's they're setting this up for Steven Spielberg, who is the king. And as Kadish aptly and adeptly and incredibly intelligently pointed out, he is the king. He is the godfather. He is the master. He's the ruler. He is the untouchable. There's no way. If Quentin Tarantino can go on Bill Maher and say what he said and has done other things, like say what he said on the red carpet when they try to corner him, Steven Spielberg, no one would have the guts to even do this. So this guy here, and from his little, crappy office or home office, wherever he's at, writing for this New York Post is a regional National Enquirer type paper. He wouldn't dare do this if you're working for the LA Times, for example, or the San Francisco Chronicle. I can tell or San Francisco Examiner, any of those papers. I can tell you, there's no way if this guy was on the West Coast, he'd have the guts to do this. And this is just crap. It's absolute horse crap. Now I don't know why he's doing it, but that's what I think.
I'm inclined to agree. I think that the reason they're doing it is quite simple. It's a really slow news day and even week for news. They have to have something to get those clicks in. There is someone that's I don't know what they have done in the entertainment section before, but obviously someone decided, you know what, let's try to do some clickbait. Let's see if we can get this story here somewhat trending or something. Let's try it. It's just an opinion piece. No harm can come from it.
I mean, here's the other thing, too. If the New York Post felt so strong about this, how come they got Mr. White Dude throwing this article out? If they really felt strongly about this article, they would have put, a diversity picture person type up there throwing this thing out. And then
absolutely.
And then it might have, and then that match, once lit, might have a little bit of kerosene or fire on it. But I mean, you look at this like, okay, middle-aged balding white dude talking about Steven Spielberg getting canceled. Oh, okay, there's a credible source or an emotional source we can rely on. That's it's just ridiculous.
I mean, if they had a couple of people of Puerto Rican origin or something like that crying about how Steven Spielberg is taking over their cultural heritage or something, then they were having reports and video of them crying on the front page, then maybe we'd have a story here. But until then, this is pure clickbait. And I also agree with you that, and I think this is one of the things that Paulie has been saying, that the whole attack, all of the attacks on Into the Height might have been something of a hit job. Isn't that right, Paulie?
Well, it was very strange, right? As far as Cameron Pasha's kind of theory that maybe the boys club went after the In the Heights. Sorry, I'm just getting back into going after In the Heights and maybe wanting to make West Side Story the Oscars darling. It's really weird, when you have two films that are pretty much kind of like on paper the same, coming out the same year. I mean, they started filming at the same time, then with delays, they all got pushed back as far as their release dates. So In the Heights was just released a few weeks ago, and this one, West Side Story, is going to be released early December, which I think is a better time for musicals, but that's just me. Now, there was so much controversy and turmoil over In the Heights, warranted or not, that it took away from the fact that it's a decent musical. There's some really good stuff in it. And as far as just like entertainment, the themes of family and the American dream, I think actually Hollywood wanted it to be woker. It really it's not woke at all. It's, there's really nothing. There's no, there's one little subplot that was added, which I think is the worst part of the film. It drags the film down. That has a little bit of wokeness, but In the Heights is, it's about immigrants. It's an immigrant story. It's an
American story.
Correct. And then it had the whole thing with the Afro Latinos going after the director and the writer, the creator. I mean, what a nightmare! What an absolute nightmare for them. Can you imagine, to where even Bill Maher and all these other people said you never should apologize? They went after Rita Moreno, who's the executive producer of West Side Story, and in West Side Story, she takes over the Krupke role. No, not the Krupke role. The diner owner, or the owner of a bodega or something. Her role of Anita is played by a beautiful African Latina actress, Ariana DeBose. And if you look at photos of her, the production photos of her in West Side Story, she looks absolutely gorgeous. So they can't get them on that because they got their cosmetic quota done. And of course, you have the controversial Rachel Ziegler as the main character, as Maria, and then this other actress as her best friend Anita. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. And that's just me. I'm a huge West Side Story fan. I love the original. I see it more as Spielberg's ode to his mom's favorite movie, if I'm not mistaken. They watched it together growing up. I mean, it kind of makes sense that that this is a homage to his mother, who they were very close, and growing up. And it was a fantastic musical back in the day, and it's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, those are my,
I'll tell you this about In the Heights, since we're kind of on the topic.
Yep.
If the film had been a success, you wouldn't have heard anything about the light-skinned Latinos or anything like that. And it's that narrative. It's kind of like Star Wars failure being blamed on franchise fatigue. That narrative is just there because it was a box office bomb, and they're looking to scapegoat the failure off of the people responsible and onto that narrative. The marketing for In the Heights was so bad, and basically the marketing made it look like a political movie, right? Like it was very divisive politics in the way that they presented the trailers and the commercials and stuff like that. And that turned people off from wanting to go see it. I think that even though it was free with HBO Max, the viewing numbers just weren't there, because it made, people in the audience who look like me, white men, be like, I don't want to be told that I'm evil for 2.5 hours in musical form, by watching this movie. And like you guys said, it's not a political story. It's a very American story. It's something about growing up and trying to achieve the American dream, and but it wasn't marketed that way. And so, like, if it had been a success, you'd have heard the narrative would have been championing the diverse cast, and the guy who directed it would have been the second coming of Spielberg and all this other stuff. But because it was a failure, it's being scapegoated, and it's saying it wasn't diverse enough. It didn't. The skin color wasn't dark enough for it to be a success, and that's what we're seing from it.
I mean, go ahead.
Can I jump in there real quick? I just want to say I want to echo both of these guys in a very real way. I saw those trailers and I was not enthused or jazzed to go see the movie. We did the Stand and Deliver reunion, and I heard Mr. Almost mention it. Still wasn't committed to go to see the movie. I just wasn't. And then I saw Paulie's coverage of it, and I went and checked it out, and I had a blast. I mean, it was a fun movie to me. I actually didn't catch the subplot, except and unless if Paulie hadn't told me about it specifically and made me think about it, because it actually went by so fast. He had already told me about it. So when I saw the movie, but I went and I think that's one of the great things about, your channel does it, Matt. I mean, certainly Midnight Sage does it. Paulie does it over Latino Slant. We can't jump to have a negative reaction. We got to give stuff a chance, and I think Matt's 100% right. The marketing was awful. I barely knew it was. I didn't know when. I had heard it was coming out. I didn't know when it was coming out. I had seen a trailer, but it wasn't on my list of things to watch and go and do. Once I saw Paulie's coverage of it, I'm like, I'm going to check this thing out. And this is before the political stuff had really like kicked in hard gear and stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to go check this thing out. And then I was going to see it over the weekend, but because the political stuff blew up so fast, so hard, so many channels, I got up early one morning at 4:30 in the morning and I watched it at home. I didn't actually go to the theater, which is what I was going to do that Friday. And I watched it in the morning and I had a blast. It was a fun time. Anybody in chat, if you haven't seen it, it's a fun movie to watch, either digitally or, go to the theater and check it out if it's still playing.
At first, it has an uphill battle simply because it's a musical. That's a very niche kind of subgenre that only certain types of people really enjoy watching. Yeah. But the second part is that it's a Warner Brothers movie, right? And Warner Brothers has been plagued for some time now, and Andre, you could probably speak to this in the sense that they have issues with being accused of racism and all this other stuff by like Ray Fisher and all these guys who just talked about how Warner Brothers just is a kind of like terrible, horrible company when it comes to people of color.
Yeah, certainly their executives are accused of that. I don't know what the company as a whole, but certainly key executives are. And of course, that's a very, very embarrassing talking point for any Hollywood studio, or accusation at least.
Yeah. So it almost feels like this movie was specifically made to kind of address those issues at Warner Brothers. And if you look at the marketing, in the trailer, it's all about like the Dreamers and, all these politically charged issues. And when the movie failed, they scapegoated it by saying, "Oh, it wasn't woke enough. We didn't lean on the politics hard enough. We didn't lean on the intersectionality hard enough." Yeah. And to the point where the director actually had to come out and apologize. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't make the Latinos in my movie darker skinned. And it's just like, dude, come on. It's like, pull a Tarantino and don't apologize for that. You had your vision and you followed it. It's the studio's fault because they marketed that movie terribly.
He wasn't the only one that apologized, right? I mean, you had the creator apologize. The creator, how many jobs has he given to Latino performers over his 20-year career on Broadway? I mean, what a disgrace that these people went after Miranda and called him a white Puerto Rican or a white this, I don't know, white that. If you have an argument, which, if it's valid or not, there's a forum and a time and a place for everything. But just like Matt said, as soon as they saw it was bombing, they went after those guys. What a disgrace, man. And let me just also just say that because that, first of all, you're right. It's a musical. Promoted as a fun musical. And it didn't have any stars. So it's already, and it's not like West Side Story, which has West Side Story. It's got 50, 60 years of a name brand. It's got a lot going against it. So what do? You try to make it like a political movie. It's not a political movie. It's it's Latinos dancing in the streets. It's good music, and that's it.
And also there's this
it's actually
concept,
very charming, you know.
there's this concept of having to cast people based off of like their skin color or their gender. It's like, whatever happened to the days when you cast the best people who are right for the role? You know?
Don't get
those days
started
are
on
long
that.
gone.
Well, you know, in sketch therapy, Halo Sketch Therapy from Puerto Rico, you know, when I came out in defense of this, by those same people, I was called a white passing racist Latino. So there you go.
Pauly,
I really don't
took
care.
a lot of heat, and then me and Cameron jumped into. I did something, threw something out there, and then now I'm not a big Twitter fan at all, but gee, many crickets. The heat that Pauly got was just
well, you know what's funny?
Outrageous.
You know what's funny is that I know a lot of Latinos, and you know they're the most kind of like accepting, nice people that you could ever possibly meet. Like, there's not a lot of racism in the Latino community, at least out here in Vegas, that I've seen. All this outrage comes from like white liberals who believe that you're being racist, and it's like I don't see that coming from the Latino community at all.
Well, I
don't know about you guys.
I think you're on to something. Cameron's on to something, that this film wasn't political, and that pissed them off because that's what they wanted. And you know, the truth is, it took Miranda over 13 years just to get this film made. He wrote this in 99, so he's had to change a little bit of it. I think he made some bad choices in the film, but that's why we get to, you know, I get to go and pay for the movie. I watched the movie in the theater, and I got to critique it. But I still gave it a thumbs up because it's enjoyable. Did I like all the changes? Absolutely not. It was a little slow in pace, but so it's got. But we're talking about now. We're going back to Spielberg's West Side Story. What were they saying in the? I read this like maybe 2 days ago. As far as Jewish men writing this, right? Tony Kushner, Spielberg, correct, Andre? If you're reading down the story, it was created by some Jewish gentlemen, some incredible talent back in the day.
Yeah, here. Let's talk Turkey here. Spielberg is a Jew. His screenwriter, Tony Kushner, is a Jew. Kushner adopted a screenplay by Ernest Lehmann, who was a Jew. The four authors of the Broadway show, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, Arthur Lawrence, and Jerome Robbins, were Jews. The commissioners love to talk of the evil cultural appropriation. The most beloved number in the show, America, features the Puerto Rican characters having a hilarious argument in song about whether life was better in the old days in San Juan or in New York. Bernstein's spectacular music is inflicted with mariachi. Sondheim's brilliant lyrics play on broken English.
Well, also you have the fact that it's a period piece. It's not contemporary like In the Heights was. And you actually have like a white gang, you know, as a big part of this movie. And it's basically Romeo and Juliet, you know, like that's what West Side Story is. Like the Sondheim and Bernstein is I'm probably butchering that, but they were legendary Broadway producers. Like they created some of the most iconic, you know, Broadway musicals that, you know, ever graced the stage. And so like West Side Story, it's one of their crowning achievements, right? So like, you know, kind of like how Pauly said, this movie, like I think it was a book before it became like a stage play. I could be wrong on that, but it's got a pedigree to it. You know, it's got a long history of, you know, people who grew up watching this, who were fans. Like the older generations definitely get to love, you know, watching this movie and stuff like that. And I think that the wokies just don't care about it because it's old. And you know, if Spielberg weren't directing this, it'd be like a flash in the pan. You know, so like I can't see like 16-year-old Twitterati's getting too bent out of shape over the fact that you have like a whole gang in this movie that are white people and they're not the bad guys. You know, and it's about an interracial romance as well. So like, you know, if you criticize it, is that really the woke thing to do, or shouldn't you be like, you know, praising this type of thing? So I think there are a lot of factors at play when it comes to this movie, but the biggest one is that Spielberg everyone loves Spielberg. I just don't think like anyone's gonna, even if this movie doesn't do well, he's not going to suffer any consequences from it.
Well, hold on. Everybody loves Spielberg. I tolerate him at this point because he gave me JJ and KK, but that's another story for another day.
Well, not everyone loves him. We got a super chat from Willie Woodward, who says, I equate Spielberg with Bay in sheer hackery, but even he doesn't deserve being cancelled. And also on other super chats when we're on that, Club Star Wars says, Hail Kadish. And then we got hot dog super stickers from Joachim Stud, Mr. Tickle Trunk, from Mags, from Ram Bam 3000, from Gran Wasu 42, from Krusty Moko, from Darius Münchhausen. And Mr. Tickle Trunk also says, thank you, Midnight's Edge, for giving the people what they want. And a sausage. So, yeah.
Paulie and Kadich just made it rain. Wow.
Also, Mephitic Miasma says that Disney should rename Slave 1 to CCP-1.
No.
Not the worst idea I've heard, actually. That's actually pretty cool. And Tsukiyomi99 asks for $5. Off topic, but why does Warner do a mediocre job with their superhero films, but for the most part, their direct-to-video animated films do well? This is a very good question. Mike, why do you think DC's animated movies are better than their live-action movies? Also, I would like to throw Mortal Kombat into that mix.
Oh,
because while I did like and have fun with the live-action Mortal Kombat movie from earlier this year, the animated Mortal Kombat Legends or whatever, Scorpion's Revenge, was better.
Yeah, I'll let you handle that one. I'll take the DC one. All right. So, as most people may know, I'm a huge comic books guy. I came on the YouTube actually originally through the comics area, Comicsgate and all that stuff. And I've been always into DC comics much more so. At my heyday, I actually owned Batman 1 through 50, missing 2 issues in that series and at one time. But I've always been a fan. I've seen every animated. I own the entire anthology that is available. If it's on a DVD, I own the anthology of all of the animated productions that have come out, Batman and all DC iterations, including the Superman master set. So, but do I own all of the Batman movies? No. No. Have I seen them all? Absolutely. I am a massively huge Batman fan. My name might be Mexican Iron Man, but that just happened. Iron Man's my only character. I really don't know the Marvel Universe that well, at least not from a comic standpoint. So why is it better? Well, here's what I think. I'm going to use the words, I'm going to go with consistency, and I also think that we have to look at the prestige. So I'm going to use 2 words, consistency and prestige. What do I mean by that? Well, by consistency, you have by and large the same production people working on, let's just take the Batman series, for example. You have the same production people working over and over and over again on a variety of titles. You have a similar, you more or less have the same guy doing the Batman voice. You more or less have the same guys doing, say the Joker voice. You more or less have the same. So there's a lot of consistency there. And then when we deal with what I view as prestige is that I think the reason why it was always left to be great in and of its own is historically speaking, and I think the same thing is true, this is why you see so much live action stuff these days, is because there's, you don't get a lot of prestige by being the best voice actor. You can be the most amazing guy doing the Batman voice, but no one's ever going to talk about you the way they do about a Michael Keaton or the way they do about a Bane or the way the list goes on. Christian Bale, Christian Bale, for example. So the prestige in Hollywood is all ego driven. It's personality driven, and it's you've got all these people with personalities. When you're dealing with the animated series, by default, it's not going to have the same perceived prestige because you're dealing with people that care about a story. and how that story is executed. And it can't be about any particular, actor or how they look or this or this or this. And so that's why we had such high level of quality. We had consistency in who was doing it. We didn't have to worry about the prestige, because the animated movies are never going to succumb to the same level of criticism that, or greed of ego, which is what I'll call it, because that's why I think it's wrong with Hollywood. There's just such amazing amount of greed from an ego-based standpoint. And the focus has to be on the story. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I think.
Matt, why do you think DC's animated movies and Mortal Kombat are so much better than their live-action counterparts?
I'll tell you. So first of all, Warner Brothers Animation is one of their oldest divisions. Like, they've been doing animation for, over 50 years? The Looney Tunes, stuff like that. And because it's one of their oldest divisions, it's kind of its own separate thing within the studio. Like, if you think of Disney and you have like Pixar, you have Marvel, you have Lucasfilm, you have, other stuff. These companies are kind of like divided into different divisions, right? And Warner Brothers Animation is its own separate division within the Warner Brothers umbrella. And they've been around for so long that they just operate kind of independently. Nobody really gives a crap about them because they're just off making direct-to-video cartoons, and so they're left to their own devices. And in my experience working in the industry, the people in animation are some of the biggest fans of source material, and they're also some of the most creative people you're ever going to meet in working in Hollywood. Yeah. And when you have an independent division within a studio that's left to its own devices, and you give the creatives the ability to do the type of stuff they want to do, tell the type of stories they want to tell, you tend to get better material. And that's the only reason why. It's because there's little meddling in Warner Brothers Animation. They got a lot of talented people working there, and they have a true love for the source material. And that's all there is to it.
I'm so hungry right now. I just want to say,
yeah,
I'm hungry.
Paulie, do you have any thoughts on, in addition to being hungry from all of the food emojis and stuff, do you have any thoughts on what Matt just said? Why DC's animated movies are just so much better than the live-action counterparts?
I am not versed in this area, so I am going to pass.
All right.
What Mexican Iron Man and Kadish say,
yeah,
sounds pretty much on the mark. So
I will agree with them completely. Here's the thing, that movies are hugely expensive, as in the live-action blockbuster feature films. You have so many layers of control because it's so many $1 million at stake. That everyone has to give their notes. It has to go through all of these layers of control and bureaucracy, and all of them makes the product a little bit less edgy, a little bit more commercial, a little bit more mundane for each new instance it has to go through. Whereas with animation, since it costs so little, nobody cares. Nobody in the company really cares. It's like, yeah, okay, fine, we invest 100,000 there and we get 300,000 back again. So it's like the money they spend isn't big enough that they care, and the money that they get back isn't big enough that they really care about that either. It's just like one of those other sources of revenue that are just there in the background. Because of that, the separate divisions that are doing them are left in peace to work their magic. And there you have, as Matt pointed out, some really, really talented people with oftentimes a better grasp on the source material than those working on the movies. Plus, they can do things that those working on the movies can't. They can be more risky. They can be more true to it, and no one cares because the money just isn't that big. So yeah, that's why. Simple as that. Not saying it's fun or enjoyable, but I have often thought that, whoa, if they just had done a live action version of this animated thing here, we'd be in so much better shape. Like, for instance, Mortal Kombat, the Scorpion's Revenge. If instead of the live action Mortal Kombat that we got, which which I liked. I had fun with it. But if they had gone with the story more close to Scorpion's Revenge, it would have been better. And I think more people would have responded to it. And we have a couple of more super chats that we're going to go through here. Golgo13 says that West Side Story is the only musical I own on disc. Mr. Tickle Trunk claims that a hot dog is a redneck taco. Changed my mind.
Okay.
Okay, wait. Say that again.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I was waiting a more frivolous reaction there. A hot dog, according to Mr. Tickle Trunk, a hot dog is a redneck taco. Changed my mind.
Okay. I love you, Mr. Tickle Trunk, but you are absolutely wrong. The ingredients in a hot dog you can actually put in a taco. The ingredients in a taco you cannot put in a hot dog. But I mean, you could try, but the taco is a revolutionary, all-purpose, all gonna feed the entire world type of food, my friend. Now the hot dog.
I say this as proud Norwegian. I'll have taco anytime over any Norwegian national dish.
Now, that being said, I love hot dogs as well, but all those ingredients you can chop it up and pon en una tortilla. Hay un taco way. Cómale. So that's all I'm saying, guys. That's all. I mean,
Paulie, the great Jedi taco defender.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to. I mean, we shouldn't have to do this.
A minute ago, you were the hot dog defender.
You're gonna defend the hot dog. I don't want to defund the hot dog. I don't want to be doing that. All I'm saying is that.
No, that's a T-shirt. Defund the hot dog.
No, don't drop the pinche taco. Nunca. Hey, she's leaving YouTube. Yay. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, well, then we'll get into that as soon as you.
Mm-hmm.
You have rowed yourself out of the current waters. So
yeah, like I said, the taco is life. The taco is life. Come on now, fight me on this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I'm just trying to get you guys to stop talking about food. My stomach's growling. I'm dying over here. This has been 2 hours of this.
As soon as this is done, I'm taking the dogs. We're jumping. We're going to Trejo's Tacos up the street.
Yeah. And Willie Woodward points out that, Andre, I have to disagree with you. Animation is much more expensive than live action due to wages and the time production takes. To hell with live action. Tunes are... Yeah, to hell with it, and live action is better than tunes. Matt, is it true that animation is more expensive than live action?
It's not, unless you get into like computer animation stuff.
Unless you get into Pixar stuff, no.
Yeah,
live action is a hell of a lot more expensive than animation.
Yeah, because one thing you got to remember is that when it comes to animation, you're basically, I hate to use this term, but when it comes to like hand drawn stuff, you're using sweatshops, and it's just like 30 people in a room, drawing stuff. Nowadays, it's all done with computers, so you probably need even less than that. But with live action, you need locations, you need logistics, you need truckers unions, you need, equipment.
You need food. So let's not forget about that. Yeah, catering.
You need food, and then like you get into the post-production end of things and stuff like that. So just dealing with the unions and stuff, it balloons the cost of that. Animation, especially nowadays with computer stuff, because once they have the assets in the computer, they have programs that they can just use to crank that stuff out. So it becomes a much more cost-effective way of doing things. So there is nothing unless you're getting into like heavy computer-generated stuff that takes a lot of processing power and time and things of that nature, like Pixar. Unless you're getting into that area, it's a much cheaper endeavor to just do a fully animated thing than it is to do a live-action thing.
Yeah. There you go. And also, Take Your 6110 says, drop the taco and drop the hot dog. Both innuendos.
No.
Nice one.
Oh.
Then
a little bit too much cheese on that taco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max also says, "Leave the gun, take the taco." Paulie would probably say that.
And what the hell does that mean?
Only after he finished the hit, though.
Oh my god!
That's from the Godfather movie. Remember Godfather 2 or 1? One.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Take the cannoli. Yeah, drop the gun. Yeah, take the cannoli.
Yeah.
If you're smoking hot, drop the gun and take Mexican Iron Man out on a date.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And Joachim Stark, my Swedish brother, says for 22 Swedish krona, Norwegian national dish, frozen pizza. You are actually not wrong. The Norwegian national dish is a frozen pizza that you can buy in stores that's called Pizza Grandiosa. I'm pretty sure everyone else in the rest of the world would find it inedible. But
wait, are you serious? You're kidding?
No, I'm serious.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious. We love that. I'll show you a commercial for it afterwards here on YouTube.
Wait a minute. Whoa. With all the great food that's come out of your country, you're telling me that's the best? No.
Well, hey.
No, I'm not saying it's the best. It's the most popular. It's the most popular. I'll find it.
Have you ever had a Swedish meatball? Those things are good.
Yeah, of course. I'll take my pizza grandiosa any day over Swedish meatballs. But yeah, that's me.
I feel like IKEA is just like the best gauge of what you people eat out there, Andre.
No, that's what they eat in Sweden. Well, of course, some of the dishes there they're not too far off from what we eat in Norway as well. So yeah, I mean, Norway and Sweden is not that far away. Very far away in some areas, but
don't you guys eat the skulls of your enemies in Norway?
No. We drink from the skulls of our enemies. We don't eat them. That would be disgusting.
Wait. How is it disgusting? It's not disgusting to drink out of the skull of your enemy? That's not disgusting?
No, that's humiliating them.
Okay,
it's
Andre, I promise that assignment. I will have that memo on your desk, sir, by the end of the day, sir.
Yeah. Glad to hear it.
The frozen pizza is disgusting, not the drinking from the skulls. So
yeah. But yeah, no, I'll show you like one of the commercials for Pizza Grandiosa just to show you all like how much they warm the heart of any Norwegian.
Yeah. You guys don't have like pizza delivery out there, do you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so you don't have like Grimaldi's, but you have like Domino's.
Actually, I think we do have Domino's, and unless I think they went broke. We have like others. We have like Pepe's Pizza. That's like in the local one. And
Papa John's.
Nope.
When you come out to Vegas, I'm going to take you out to Grimaldi's Pizza. It's the best pizza you're ever going to have.
I look forward to it already. I'm going to gain like 10 kilos when I go to America, but it'll be worth it.
You're gonna have to gain pounds while you're here in America.
Fine, I'll gain 20 pounds when I'm in America, but it'll be worth it.
None of this metric system bull crap.
You know, for this meetup, it's in August, right?
Yeah.
I won't be coming to it, so we'll have a separate meetup later.
Sorry to hear that, but I'm thinking of taking a taco truck up there.
Ooh.
And doing, Slantino Nation taco truck tour with my Mexican Iron Man and Matt Kadish.
We'll get the rest of my salty nerd co-hosts to hop on the truck too. They all
I'm
love
telling
taco.
you, man.
Are you announcing it now here on Midnight's Edge? Because I thought you were going to do it. Is this the official announcement of the taco tour?
No, it's not. No, but all the taco talk. All this talk of food. I mean, come on.
I will only join in if you paint Danny Trejo's face on the side of the truck.
Oh my God, you are a complete fan, bro.
That is not. That's already been done. And
Doesn't matter.
Here's
I don't get into a taco truck unless it's got Danny Trejo's face.
Okay, you've given us your writer's list. I appreciate that.
Hey, if you want the Mangold Slayer to ride hot with you gotta have Trejo on there.
Now he's the Mangold Slayer. He has adopted it.
Wow.
Well, stuff like that you just gotta own, don't you?
I love it.
Hollyface in the truck.
This day on Midnight Edge, the taco tour has been created. We have solidified the Mangold Slayer. I love it.
This is awesome.
This is like the best show ever today.
And it's the one Tom's not on. Ironically.
Oh, hey, I love that.
We all love Tom.
Well, it's a slow Friday, so it was going to be a fun day with loads of food talk, no matter what. We have a couple of more super chats before we get into the final topic of today. On the topic of animation, though, Etienne Falardeau says even the Lego Batman and superhero movies are better. Hollywood is also trying to erase Latino culture like the Anglos tried here in Quebec.
You know what's funny about
comment on that, but maybe.
You know what's funny about Latino culture when it comes to Hollywood is that a lot of these people who are in the industry, who are in charge of making movies and TV shows and what have you, their only exposure to Latinos is when their gardeners show up or their maids come in. Like, I'm not being facetious on that. I'm not, that's not something I'm exaggerating to try to slam them. That's legit. Like unless, like when I first moved out to LA, I lived in Highland Park, which those of you who live in Chicago, Highland Park's like a nice area. In Pasadena, it's not. It's a very gang infested area. It was like 99% Latino. When I moved in there, I had a neighbor who basically said, like, don't ever come out of your apartment because the Latino gangs will get you because you're white. So, like I lived, in basically the barrio. I don't know if that's an offensive term or not. If it is, I apologize. But I lived in the slums for like my first 3 years in LA. And I got to see and experience like great Latino people, bad Latino people. They were all there. And the people who promote Latino culture in Hollywood aren't ever exposed to that. They, like I said, they may have a conversation with their maid every once in a while, and that's the bulk of their exposure. And that's who's preaching this stuff to us, and that's who's in charge of shaping the cultural outlook to us.
Yeah,
ouch.
Not great, but yeah.
Well,
that's
on the point of the what Matt said in regards to Hollywood. You're absolutely right. And this is, this shows in how in how they write, how they've written Latino roles over the decades, and who they've cast, right? Because there wasn't even Latino actors back in the day playing these subservient roles, these souveniristic roles, like you said, the gardener, or maybe the spicy enchilada, hot mamacita, right? At first, those weren't even played by Latino actors. Then you started getting them being played by Latino actors.
Yeah, Charlton Heston playing a Mexican.
Played Mexican many times, but he was amazing. I will say that. Even Vasquez, the lady that played Vasquez in Aliens, she was amazing. So you're absolutely right, because the reinforcement of Hollywood is from the East. You're always going to get the cast directors, writers, producers. They all come from the East Coast. They don't know the Latino culture. They might know is the Puerto Rican, culture, Nuyorican, maybe. But when they see the Latino culture here, it's like, oh, our nannies, our gardeners, our landscapers, illegals, lack of a better word, right? So that's how they've written, and they've written really shitty, really poorly. Where you get Latino filmmakers who've taken those stereotypes and kind of, made them more like a Trejo, Rob Rodriguez, Kenneth Castillo. So, the other part about, as far as, you living in a barrio for a few years. I mean, barrios are beautiful, and any neighborhood that you go to, there's always gonna be bad, there's always gonna be good. Your homie that was looking out for you said, you better not go out at night. He's absolutely right. So he was looking out for you. That's just the reality. I tell my girlfriend, don't walk around this neighborhood at night.
Let me give you an example of where I was living. Okay, so I lived on Avenue 57 in Highland Park, Pasadena.
Yep,
and
exactly where you're at.
It was called, my street was nicknamed Helicopter Alley, because three times a day we had the police helicopters coming by because all the gang leaders lived on my street. And so they would just buzz overhead, see what was going on, and then leave. And it was like clockwork. And I can't tell you how many times I was coming home at night from being in Hollywood, and my street was literally blocked off by police because there was like a shooting or something, and I had to wait for them to like give me the okay to return to my apartment. So the barrio I lived in was not beautiful. It was filled with illegal immigrants. It was filled with crime, domestic abuse, like women having kids just so they could get more welfare checks. Like it was the whole 9 yards. And the avenues, I think that was the main gang in that area, because everything was like Avenue 5 or Avenue 43 or like whatever. So they were just called the avenues. It was a dangerous place, and I was kind of like blissfully ignorant about it because I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. Like I'd be in my apartment or I'd be sleeping or whatever, but I spent most of my time in Hollywood. And then the only reason I lived there was because it was cheap. But I got to see firsthand, what the Los Angeles Latino community was like. And you're right, there are good people there. I'm not saying there aren't, but it was always overshadowed by the bad stuff, and it was not a nice neighborhood.
It sounds like you lived on the wrong block.
Probably.
And
probably.
What's amazing about that part of LA, a lot of that terrain, it's cul-de-sacs, or you can get lost very quickly in those hills. Which if it's, and then you got, and also too, it's old LA. So there's a lot of older gangs and older families there. So yeah.
And it was funny because at the time, my best friend, who was black, was living with me for a brief period. And, he was unemployed when he was living with me. So while I was off, working, he was just stuck at the apartment, and he'd walk down to like the local bar. And when he got in there, like I think at one point he mentioned like, oh, I'm going to walk home. And they're like, dude, you can't walk in this neighborhood. You're going to get killed. And he's like, really? Like, I haven't had a problem so far. It's like, dude, you're black. The gangs, are going to target you. And so like that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why he moved away eventually. But yeah, it was bad, man. It wasn't good.
Yeah. Again, it just sounded like you happened to pick a very bad neighborhood. And when I say barrios are beautiful, like, like it's there are, huge parts of Los Angeles that are, for lack of a better word, Latino neighborhoods, from Boyle Heights, East LA, South Central, where you're at, that there's been just a tremendous wealth of culture and entertainment.
I wasn't in South Central though.
Oh yeah, no, I know
going
exactly.
to South Central. That was a whole other.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly. And and I'm not trying to romanticize anything here. I'm just saying that out of those horrors of whether it's a barrio or a ghetto, there's always great art and artists that come out. From in this case, I can tell you from. Los Lobos, Ozo Motley, all these wonderful musicians who in fact, Ozo Motley, they have a recording rehearsal studio right down the street from you, right from that old area. Two filmmakers and films. So
Grand Wazoo, I was there from 2002 to 2005. I think that's the time period which I was living in Highland Park.
And now Highland Park is, completely gentrified.
Is it really? I haven't been there.
Oh my God, dude, it is ridiculous now.
Really?
Yeah, you'll probably be in shock and just owning a house there. But
I will tell you this: until I moved to Highland Park back in the 2001, 2002 time frame, I was never into Latino women. And then after living there for a while, I was like, hey, boy caliente.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Latinas love their white boys, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do.
Mexican Iron Man has had many a lightsaber duel fighting off the white guy. Yes, I love her too. No, you love her. No, I love her. Wait. How much is she costing? Okay, you can have her.
They always wanted me to go to church, though.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, and just on that last topic, my cousins are all from those neighborhoods that you talked about. For whatever reason, my mom decided she just didn't want to raise me in that in the neighborhood that we were from. I had a different upbringing, and hence my cousins are completely, different as far as upbringing, but made their American dreams happen. They have the looks and mannerisms of Chicanos, of Cholos, where I'm more of like a West Sider. It's a funny thing, man. It's a funny thing. LA's a trip, and that's another reason why LA is just so fascinating.
I loved LA. I loved living there. I didn't want to leave, but like I eventually had to because it was just getting out of control. I would love nothing more than for LA to get its act together and for California to clean itself up, but it's just being run into the ground by bad management.
But going back to the what you said about as far as Hollywood and casting, and you're absolutely right as far as because you said the comment, the super chat that started this was the erasure of the Latino community, which I think is interesting. I just think it's always been like, we're souvenir trinkets, and we're that they don't understand. And so, when it's in fashion and you want to throw an X on there, then, okay, we'll cast because you're fitting their agenda. But if you don't fit that agenda and you actually like, crime action movies, and want to blow shit up and have Latinos as the lead, they don't want that.
What's always struck me about the Latino community, at least the part I've been exposed to, is that Latinos, by and large, they're very entrepreneurial, they're very hardworking, they're smart, they're very family oriented. It's like there are all these positive aspects to the Latino community that when you look at Hollywood, it's just like MS-13 gangs with like the tats and stuff. It's not the independent spirit that you see in most Latinos. Like, like there's so many people out here in Vegas. It's a very big Latino community. And it's like all the Latinos I know, like they're entrepreneurs, they're hard workers. It's crazy. You don't see that represented in Hollywood.
Paulie talks about that all the time about storytelling, right, Paulie?
Yeah. I mean, you said you mentioned, you mentioned a particular gang, and they represent they're from a particular part of the world and part of LA. And I will, my thing is always that they get the headlines, of the unfortunate headlines, where a beautiful, and this is what I go back to, a beautiful community of hardworking people that remain silent because they're just busy working and eating. And like you said, we're all good people. And we go back, and then it goes back to being more inclusive, is that, we're all here at the same time, Matt, right? As far as the finding our place and making sure we're part of the American tapestry that is this country. It's so complex, it's so dysfunctional at times, but we get along. We actually do get along every day. We make shit work. I'm not talking about Latinos, I'm talking about me, everybody. I just think that when Hollywood, they don't give a shit. Let's just be honest. They don't give a shit. And it's evident in when they propose stuff with the X and with, these half spoken, and it's like their intentions, their intentions are just to keep their power and say that they've hired the X, or they're going to do this. They just want to keep their power, because when you bring in someone like a Rodriguez, like a Kenneth Castillo, like someone who is a maverick outsider, or even a Cameron, right? That style. That means you got to give them some of your power, and you got to give them some of your money as well. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, as Cameron always says, power cannot be given away, it must be taken. Otherwise, it's not truly yours. And also, Jay Ice says for $5, white guy from east side of Vegas. Used to have a mariachi band practice every Wednesday night right near my house. Really miss them. Yeah. And also, Thomas Colon makes a point. It's Latino or Latina, period, meaning no X's in there.
I hear the Latino community really hates Latinx or Latinx, however you pronounce it, because the Romance language, it's got male and female inflections in it. So when you do the whole Latinx thing, it's almost insulting. It's like debasing your language.
Oh, Mexican Iron Man has one of his most famous rants on Midnight Edge After Dark. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Wasn't it, Andre? I did on a Tuesday. I showed up the next day, Wednesday, and you sent me a message saying that you needed me. I'm like, oh God, I'm fired. I'm so fired. Okay, it was epic. It was epic. I had just seen a video that Paulie did that shed additional information and light, and that's what I love about Paulie's channels. They entertain, they educate, they inform, and we do the Midnight Edge Espanol too, and and I just seen this thing, and I'm just like, oh hell no. Yeah,
again, it's white liberals using this. It's not the
I got a little heated, and I went off, and I swear I was like, oh my God, Andre's twittering me. I'm so busted right now.
Well, you weren't. So
no, I wasn't. You're like, oh, I got to do way worse than that to get fired. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of Tom's rants? Come on.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And Orville Nation, who I meant to click there, but we got Tyler who wonders, does that mean ex-Latin? No, it does not, which I think you knew. Orville Nation is in the chat and says, Latinx my ass. So, yeah.
As.
That's a great, yeah. And also, as Mags point out, Magsex. And Christopher Jones.
My name would just be pronounced Max.
Yeah. Christopher Jones also points out the only X I care about is X-Men. And speaking of super chats, Paulus Plain, my fellow countryman, he listened to all the food talk and he got hungry, I meant to say. So he ordered himself a Pepper's Pizza number 20, which is called Even Heavier Heaven. That cost 298 Norwegian krona. That's $30 plus delivery. That one consists of Pepper's.
That's an expensive pizza.
That's standard Norwegian price for takeaway pizza. And that one is Pepper's pepper steak. It has onion seasoned meatballs, pepperoni, red onion, and oregano, with a slight topping of parsley. That's the content of that one pizza.
In college, I worked as a Domino's pizza delivery guy, and I find it insulting if I ever have to pay more than $10 for a pizza.
No, you wouldn't last in Norway. You can't get anything for less than.
Yeah, there's a reason I don't live in Norway.
Yeah. Clarence Knight says for $5, if any of you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
Oh man, I'd slather myself in mustard. I'd be delicious.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't eat myself, but I would eat all these other dogs.
Oh, mustard on yourself. Ugh.
Slather myself in hot, spicy mustard. Delicious.
Yeah. And in reference to her earlier super chat, Mags says, meant to say, leave the hot dog. But I got too excited for my Godfather reference. I typed the partial line from the movie, LOL.
Real quick, Thomas Cullen, I did not find myself in any porn scenarios as I was a pizza delivery guy. Unfortunately, it just never happened.
I think those probably happen more in porn movies than they do in actual reality.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who could really resist all this to begin with? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Golgo13 says, this one is in Spanish. I can't bring it up on screen, I think. I'm going to see if it's possible. If not, I'm going to do
put in the private chat?
Best effort of reading it myself here.
Andre, you want to put in private chat or not?
Yeah, no, I think I got it. But you're going to have to help me afterwards. Because what it says here is... Mi hija cumplió 12 años hoy. Amala para siempre. So his sister turns his daughter is 12 years old today.
Yeah.
So
Feliz
Feliz cumpleaños a tu hija. Was that about right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I put it here in the private chat. This Amala para siempre. What does that mean? That's
her name. That's
forever. Amala forever, or
that's like like long live Amala. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, Amala forever then. So, feliz cumpleaños a Amala.
That's her name.
That's her name.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, happy birthday to Amala, and happy 12-year birthday, and also congratulations to the proud father. Let's not forget about that. And with that, I think we are up to speed on the super chats. Then we have two brief topics more to cover. One of them is that Matt, you pointed out, it's not a topic that I like to talk much about, but we can mention it briefly. Brie Larson apparently is leaving YouTube, at least for the time being, presumably because she's doing some filming in LA. Matt, are you heartbroken over Brie Larson not being on YouTube anymore?
Well, just to clarify, she said that she was stepping away from YouTube to focus on her career. And you know, the whole reason she got into YouTube to begin with was because there were lockdowns going on and she needed attention. So she started her YouTube channel so she could stay relevant. And
I always thought there was like some kind of deal where that she was like hired in by YouTube.
I'm sure YouTube, you know, pimped her out appropriately, but for the most part, you know, during the lockdowns, actors didn't have a whole lot of stuff to do. So, you know, she basically wanted to stay relevant. She wanted to stay out there. So she created this YouTube channel and she did like yoga on it or some stupid stuff like that. And now that the lockdowns have lifted and she doesn't need to do YouTube anymore, guess what? She's not doing it. So she can go back to working on movies and focusing on her career. And it's just like, it's par for the course for Brie Larson. It's a fake, you know, just opportunity for her to try to, you know, stay relevant. And it's not surprising to me at all. Like her heart was never really into the YouTube thing. She literally just did it so that people wouldn't forget her while the lockdowns were going on.
Yeah, and I don't know how well that worked out. I never watched her channel. I don't care because she means nothing to me. I don't have any strong feelings about her one way or the other.
I mean, she should have been doing like hot tub streams, all this other stuff to get super chats, but she didn't. She just kind of did yoga, I think. I didn't watch her channel either, so. Yeah,
I don't care one way or the other. Paulie and Mike, how about you? Does that mean anything to you whatsoever?
Means zero to me. And I'm laughing hilariously at this, that she's leaving YouTube, and there's a couple reasons why. To focus on my career. Well, I've got an entire career. Andre, you've got an entire career. I mean, I'm not a creative YouTube guy, but I'm on YouTube a lot. I mean, take someone like Coach and Nick over at Echo Base Network. They've got full-time careers. They don't have a problem maintaining their channels and their presence on YouTube. I mean, I think it's just, it shows the absolute egotistical, selfish ridiculosity of Hollywood people, because if you cared about your fans, you'd want to communicate with your fans through any medium possible. And I think she could have a great channel of featuring what she's doing here, there, everywhere, and whatnot. It's just it's ridiculous what she's saying, and it's just an example of, hey, you failed royally. Walk away. Yeah. You failed. Take your little L, you little loser, and walk away. Bye-bye. We won't miss you. In particular because, hey, any girl that, let me put it this way. Any girl that drops a taco is guilty of a food offense, of a Class A felony.
It depends on what taco she drops.
Well, I don't know. It's in the commercial. It's in the Nissan commercial she did.
And Club Star Wars point out, a shame she isn't leaving acting to focus on YouTube. Yeah, also that would have been better.
That's a good one.
Take your 610 says, I just need to know what movies are made for me.
Do you guys think that Brie? Do you guys think Brie Larson's going to be involved in that all-female Star Wars show at all?
I don't know.
By Leslie Headland, I think her name is.
I don't think so. I think that someone higher up at Disney would probably pull the plug on that. But
I feel like Brie has been angling for a Star Wars role for a long time now.
She may have been angling for it, but that doesn't mean she's going to get it.
Well, she's an Oscar-winning actress, and Kevin Feige loves her, so chances are she's going to get something.
I think she'll get something with Jackson. That would be, Well, they're best friends. They're like buddies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as like they've done what 2 or 3 movies now together.
Well, I think they have the same agent.
There you go.
Yeah, that probably is more important than them being friends. But yeah.
Well, like
I don't
movies,
know.
honestly,
Yeah.
That so having the same agent matters like that. I mean, I just don't know. I'm speaking as a fan out of ignorance, you know.
Agents, what they'll do is they'll take their clients and package them together for studio deals, and so like they get more of their clients' work, which means they make more money. So you'll tend to see actors work with the same people a lot if they have the same representation. And because Marvel pulls from like the same acting pool, you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of these big Marvel stars have the same agents as other people. Same goes for Lucasfilm people as well. So yeah, if you have the same agent as like a Samuel L. Jackson, you're going to get to show up in a lot of Samuel L. Jackson projects. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. Also, Aurora Uplinks sent us $1 with no message, but thanks for the support in any event. And with that, let us move on to the very last topic of today. Because earlier today, we dropped a video about how there is a new Zorro movie possibly in development with Fede Alvarez in talks to direct it. So in talks, this is nothing official just yet. But what little we learned, go check out the video, is that if made, it would be an adaptation of The Curse of Capistrano, which is a simply amazing story, and the books and the movies based on it so far are also really, really good. We saw the 1920 Mark of Zorro recently, and we all loved it. So, Mike, you have read The Curse of Capistrano, and you have seen both movie adaptations of it made so far. That's in 1920 and in 1940. How excited are you about the prospect of Fede Alvarez, the Uruguayan director who is most known for Don't Breathe, maybe doing a new take on The Curse of Capistrano?
Well, just to review what maybe we know on the panel, we may or may not know in chat. So I had seen the Zorro in the Antonio Banderas one. I saw your video that you dropped, Midnight Edge dropped in English, and when it was dropped in Spanish, and that made me want to go read the book. And I read the book. I downloaded it to my Kindle. I bought it, downloaded it to my Kindle, and read it the following week. Then we had the movie watch party, and I just got to tell everybody. I mean, this is the Zorro character. This is before the Phantom, because Phantom led to Superman, and Superman led to Batman, in that order. This is the original hero, and if you want to read something great, and you want to watch a great movie, and you want to learn about this, you got to check out all the Midnight Edge videos, and then go to right here in the. I think it's is it here or it's on Midnight? It's here on this channel that we have the link to the Zorro movie. Right?
To the movie or the watch party?
To the movie here. I know the watch party is on Midnight Edge Espanol. I mean, if you want to have a good time, you guys, if you're a fan of Midnight Edge channels, grab your laptop or your phone. Turn on the watch party. Put the movie on your TV if you can, if you have an internet TV, and watch this movie. It is fantastic. I saw it for the first time live with Andre and Paulie, and the guys and the crew and stuff, and it is just amazing. It is just unbelievable. You'd think a film from 1920 wouldn't be any good. I think it's better than Citizen Kane, and I love Citizen Kane. It's it's in my top 10 list all time, etc. So, as far as redoing this again, I like this. I think this. I'm excited for this director. I'm excited if they're going to go back to the source material. Versus say, they're going to take something that was done in the 80s and 90s and redo it and recast it. And I think it's what we need. If they actually go to this source material, the book is just excellent. And it reads quick, and it's entertaining, and it feels like a movie, and it's awesome. And the movie did an amazing job of replicating the book. If they go to that source material and tell that story, I think it's what we need. I think it's what we need for men, women, relationships that have deteriorated between men and women here in this modern era. It's what we need as a culture in terms of the American culture, because it's an American story. and it brings everybody together because it has themes that we can all get behind. And they really all they have to do is take, if they can go to that source material like they did in 1920s. We're talking 100 years later. For 100 years later, we can go with modern audio, because that movie when it came out when did it come out? 1920?
1920.
Okay. When it came
November
out in
1920.
we didn't have any audio. So when you guys go to watch this movie on Midnight Edge channel, the link is, it's just
all the links are in the description of the video we dropped earlier today. There you'll find the links for everything.
Great.
And also, the movie actually is on Midnight Edge.
And your video is awesome. The video you dropped this morning a few hours ago, awesome. Go watch it, everybody. It's really great. It's a great video. And so it's just like you said, Andre, if they go back to that source material and retell the story with, now we have actual modern audio, modern color, cameras, I am excited. I'm going to go see this thing. I can't wait for it to come out.
Matt, you didn't see the watch party with us. Have you seen the 1920 Mark of Zorro? And if not, are you otherwise familiar with The Curse of Capistrano? And regardless of that, how excited are you for a potential retelling of it by Fede Alvarez?
So I'm kind of on the fence about Fede Alvarez. I liked Don't Breathe. I didn't see the Evil Dead remake because I love the original so much. I didn't want to, put myself through that.
It's a remake, but as far as remakes go, it's actually really good.
No, I get it. He's definitely got his pros, but some of his cons, I think the most recent thing he did was he was a story consultant on Chaos Walking, because that movie was such a mess. They had to bring him on to try to fix it. And that was not a good movie. He could be a good solution to that. I'm not really big on on movies before 1960. That's just never been an interest of mine. So a lot of these classics films that you're talking about, I love The Mask of Zorro, that was directed by the guy who did Green Lantern, and we have Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, that's the Banderas movie.
Yeah, Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones in her prime, produced by Steven Spielberg. I mean, it's just the sequel to it wasn't that good, but it was still it was fun, So my exposure to Zorro is really those movies. Beyond that, I haven't really put too much interest into it. But if they want to reboot Zorro, I think it's a great thing to have. I mean, he's basically the Latino Batman, back in the day. So I would be really excited to see a new take on Zorro coming to the big screen. Make a franchise out of it. Make it like a James Bond type thing, where if the actor playing Zorro gets tired, just replace him with a new one, and continue telling that story. And Fede Alvarez, if he does the first one, I'd definitely go see it, and hopefully it would be good, and hopefully he continue to make them. So I'm not like I said, I'm not big on the 20s, 30s, 40s types of films, but
most people
I've always appreciated the character of Zorro. I've always thought he was a very interesting character.
If you watch this movie, you'll be surprised, because it's not like most other movies from the 1920s, but yeah. Aaron Rogers says for $5, I love the Antonio Banderas movie. Acting, cinematography, editing, James Horner score, fight scenes, it's all so perfect to me. And Polly, how excited are you for the prospect of Fede Alvarez taking on Zorro?
Yeah, it could be really good. He's worked with the best. He's, had some decent stuff. When you've, been tapped by Sam Raimi and worked with Rodriguez, he's got some skills. I hope for a fun romp, kick-ass romp, no politics, none of that stuff. Zorro is a Robin Hood, slash Batman. Well, more Batman, actually. Yeah, you're right. So, it would be great to get a good film of it. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Be really cool if we could, the more Curse of Capistrano, then the better.
Yeah, I just hope that it will be allowed to be the movie that it needs to be, meaning a reasonably faithful adaptation of The Curse of Capistrano, where they keep the politics out of it and just make the kind of movie that it should have been the whole time. And just look at the Martin Campbell movie and just imagine, okay, we're making a prequel to this, where we're doing now the origin of the original Zorro, and then don't have a young Anthony Hopkins, but have like an appropriate actor play him.
They'll cast Anthony Hopkins and just de-age him.
If he's still around by then. So yeah, I hope that could be that's something that can be.
You need a dashing lead man who can put on the persona of
Oscar
Don Diego.
Isaacs.
What's that?
Oscar Isaacs.
Oscar.
Not the worst idea.
That's not the worst idea. I mean,
what about Mexican Iron Man?
Acting chops, he could do it. I'm thinking maybe someone a little younger.
Vin Diesel?
No.
Mexican Iron Man? Anyone?
No.
Oh.
I'm actually thinking out of the box, like
Any Trejo.
Maybe as the cousin or the uncle or the dad.
Well, let's not think too out of the box here. I mean, let's do it the proper way. But yeah,
right. I mean, either Xolo or Raul Castillo or Anthony Ramos. Those are very young Hollywood, potentially great leading men. Why not one of them?
What about Enrique Iglesias?
Come on, man. Yeah. Come on. I mean, that's always, there's no, someone just said Gabriel Luna would be that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, also a very, very good idea.
That is a good idea.
Very good idea. I'd be very happy.
And you know what? And he's
Dave Bautista. Anyone?
Wrong ethnicity. But
how do you know? Did you just misgender his race?
No, he's been very clear about what he wants to be identified as. It's not Zorro. So, yeah,
I think Gabe, but in that same vein,
I would tolerate him as Garcia, though.
Right? Yeah, as Garcia, definitely for Dave. Yeah, Bautista. But Xolo. He's got a big.
Sorry, Gonzalez. I meant Sergeant Gonzalez.
Sergeant Gonzalez.
I would.
I know what you meant.
Sergeant Gonzalez. He would be perfect for that.
Xolo's such a potentially great leading man. He might be a little too young, but I would. Hopefully he can be Blue Beetle and then maybe Zorro.
In 3 years. In 3
right,
years.
maybe.
He needs to age up a little bit more.
What if we just got Antonio Banderas and de-aged him?
No, he's the second Zorro, not the original one.
He's coming on. He's 60 now. I mean, Zorro is
if Harrison Ford can do it.
Yeah. I just think it's a different day now in Hollywood. I'd like to see some of these younger talents, get their hands on it. I think Oscar Isaac is a
what
great.
About John Leguizamo?
No,
you guys are looking at this. Well, Polly's. Hold on. Let me help you, kiddish. You haven't seen a 1920 movie and you haven't read the book, so let me help you out with something. The way in which this character moves is more important than what they necessarily say or do or how they act. I mean, the acting is important.
You're saying they should cast Keanu Reeves?
You're gonna need. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. It's that kind of thing, fast and hard and athletic. It's much more Tom Cruise. It's more John Wick, Mission Impossible ishy.
Well, Tom was in for it in the 90s. He wanted to play Zorro, actually. Yeah, that was a thing. And
then when you see Buster Keaton, this guy's like jumping through windows. He's like moving. He's like the action is just incredible.
Douglas Fairbanks, you mean?
I'm sorry, Douglas Fairbanks. Sorry, wrong movie.
Yeah. Also, Michael Miller says remake Zorro Rides Again and F. Alex Kurtzman. Yeah, because he's the one that destroyed destroy the sequel to the Banderas movie. And then Waddle These Nuts, and I'm so glad I have that on screen here, says, would there be any advantage to setting Zorro in the modern day? And I can answer that, no, there would be absolutely less than none advantage to setting Zorro in the modern day.
Well, that's Batman.
There only is a Zorro in the modern day. It's called Batman.
Yeah, isn't a big part of Zorro is the swashbuckling, right? The sword fights. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Have that in modern day, it'd be gunfights.
Yeah, exactly. So there would be they're like trying to make some gender bent remake series that are set in the modern day and even the future, and they're going to be disasters, both of them. So nope, there is absolutely no advantage to that. Zorro belongs in California in the 19th century and nowhere else.
Well, I think physically too. Bring that up. You got to have some physical-minded actors, like Gabe or Xolo, who've proven themselves martial arts, or I know Terminator: Dark Fate was very physically demanding. I mean, it wasn't a good film, but I'm just saying, and then he also was Ghost Rider, correct?
Yes, he was.
Yes, got to have a great lead.
Yeah,
it's.
Well, if Fede Alvarez is chosen as the director for it, I trust him to find a great lead.
I mean, even Javier Bardem maybe 10
old.
Years ago,
Yeah. Even then, he would have been too old to start out as Zorro. Like 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Because the charisma Bardem, that's Don Diego. And
I just realized that you're right. I can't be the new Zorro because my right leg is still in rehab and recovery. So I'm going to have to sit this casting out. You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
And with that, though, I think that we have covered all of the topics that are to cover for today, and then some. So with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone in the panel for joining me on this lovely Friday to talk some Zorro and some Star Wars and some Latino culture and LA and California and sausages and tacos and everything else that goes with it. Mr. Tickletrunk also says towards the end here, I also love the Shadow, who Batman ripped off. Batman ripped off many, including Zorro.
Yes.
Yeah. Batman is a ripoff of most people, actually. And also, I would like to say thank you to every single one of the mods who has been helping out, and to everyone else who's just been here watching us today. It's been great to have you here today, as always. Do check out the Zorro video that we dropped earlier today, and with any luck, we will have an Alien video in the next few hours. And if we don't, we will absolutely have an Alien video fairly early tomorrow. But I'm hoping later today. And with that, shall we do Koalas on the Rail or watch a Norwegian pizza commercial that I promised you earlier?
Real quick. I have to get going, but just wanted to thank you, Andre, for having me on. Hopefully I can do more of these in the future. Chat was great today. SaltyNerdVideo.com takes you to my YouTube channel with my co-hosts. We do the Salty Nerd podcast. And today we just released our review of the first 2 Next Generation movies. So like if you're a Star Trek fan, you want to have a few laughs, go check out our channel. That video just dropped today. We had a lot of fun reviewing the original crew movies, and now we're getting into the Next Generation era. And if you guys are coming to Las Vegas for the Star Trek convention, we're going to have a booth there. So we're going to have a really good time. So if you haven't already, check out saltynerdvideo.com and let us know what you think of our content.
And I got a plug too. So if you haven't seen the video this morning, check it out. Midnight's Edge. It's about Zorro, the one we're talking about. It's awesome. Tomorrow, on Saturday night, tomorrow night, I am going to be playing Maria the Puppet on the Snow Dub channels at 9 o'clock Pacific. It should be hilarious. And hey, Wednesdays, we got great Latino slant shows. We've had an amazing set of guests. Paulie, I'll let you talk more about it. But I want to encourage everybody to check us out 6 o'clock every Wednesday.
Yeah, everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Salty Nerd. Make sure you subscribe to everyone here. The Latino Slant, every Wednesday we have just a different, interesting person we interview. We had Coach from EBN, Echo Base. Next week is Cameron Pasha. Tonight, Karaoke Geeks. It's 4th of July. We're going to celebrate 4th of July with nothing but rock songs tonight. Thank you, Andre.
Yes, awesome. And with that, I see many in the chat wants to see this commercial for the Norwegian frozen pizza that every Norwegian loves. And this commercial plays that up. Particularly pay attention to the guy who's at the dinner party and he looks over at the children's tables. Yeah. And also I've tried my best so that the volume is acceptable, but I don't know exactly how it's going to work out. So be prepared to lower the volume in case suddenly your speakers blow up or something.
And I will always love you. I will always love you. Bittersweet memories. That is all I'm taking with me. And I will always love you. I will always love you.
Norwegian commercials for you.
I'm
my.
crying. I shed a tear. That was the most beautiful commercial I've ever seen.
I love how at the end on the bottom right it's made by a company called Grandiosa.
Yeah, that's the name of the pizza. Pizza Grandiosa.
That's like Latin. That's Mexican. That's Spanish.
Yeah, it was made in the 50s or 60s to sound exotic to Norwegians. It's completely Norwegian made by Norwegians for Norwegian tongues, but they wanted it to sound exotic. So instead of Norwegian ham pizza for Norwegians by Norwegians, they came up with Pizza Grandiosa.
Because the Latin people are known for their great pizza. I love it.
Yeah, yes, that's why.
Hey, haven't you ever had a Mexican pizza before?
La pizza. Dame un pizza con un Pepsi. Yo quiero un pizza y también yo quiero un Pepsi.
On that note.
Mm-hmm.
On that note,
hey, you said Mexican pizza. I had to.
That's awesome, Paulie. You rock.
Actually, you know what? This Grandiosa, they genuinely have a Grandiosa taco with taco flavored Grandiosa pizza. Okay. I kid you not.
Heavens!
Wow.
Yeah, I'll take a picture for you later.
I'm just stunned right now.
Dame dos de pastor.
I'll send a picture to you guys later of that. But for right now, again, I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone in the panel. Do check out their channels, the Salty Nerd Podcast, the Latino Slant, of course, Midnight's Edge Espanol. And with that, it's time for some koalas in the rain.
Bye, everybody.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas